Life in the modern world often feels like a relentless current, doesn't it? We're swept along by the urban cacophony, the unyielding demands of work, and a non-stop deluge of information that floods our senses from dawn till dusk. It's easy to feel lost in this torrent, disconnected from something deeper within ourselves, perpetually chasing a horizon that always seems to recede. Have you ever found yourself wondering, am I just running on a treadmill to nowhere? That pervasive feeling of being trapped, caught in a labyrinth of anxious thoughts and turbulent emotions, can be incredibly isolating. It's like being in a room full of people yet feeling utterly alone, constantly bombarded by internal and external pressures. This isn't merely a fleeting sensation. It's a profound challenge of our time. Fear, anxiety, anger, and disappointment often arrive like uninvited guests, settling comfortably in our minds, turning what should be a peaceful inner sanctuary into a battlefield. The consequence of clinging to these unwelcome emotions is immense chronic stress, sleepless nights, frayed relationships, and a pervasive sense of dis-ease. We mistakenly believe that our problems stem from the external world, the demanding boss, the difficult colleague, the unpredictable economy. But the profound truth, often overlooked, is that the real issue isn't what's happening to us, but rather how we choose to react to it, how we perceive it through the lens of our own conditioning. We've become so accustomed to the incessant chatter of our minds that we've lost the ability to find that precious inner quiet, that spaciousness where true self-understanding can blossom. We rarely carve out the time, the deliberate stillness, to truly listen to the whispers of our own hearts, to understand the roots of our suffering. But what if there was another way? What if the path to serenity wasn't about escaping the world, but about fundamentally changing how we engage with it? This journey we're about to embark on isn't about rigid dogma or esoteric rituals. It's about embracing the profound wisdom of Buddhist teachings, not as an academic pursuit, but as a practical, actionable guide for modern living. We'll explore concepts like letting go, mindfulness, and awakened awareness, not as abstract ideals, but as tangible tools to navigate the complexities of your daily life. This ancient wisdom, far from being outdated, offers timeless keys to unlock the peace and clarity that reside within you. It provides a roadmap for transforming every interaction, every challenge, every seemingly insurmountable obstacle into a powerful opportunity for learning, growth, and genuine liberation. Join us as we delve into these transformative ideas, promising a journey that will help you rediscover your inner peace and cultivate a lighter, more awakened existence amidst life's hustle and bustle. Have you ever noticed how much of our suffering stems from the simple act of holding on in Buddhist philosophy? This isn't just about grasping onto physical possessions, though that's certainly a part of it. It's a far deeper, more pervasive tendency of the mind, the clinging to ideas, to emotions, to our very sense of identity, to expectations, and even to the outcomes of events. Imagine a beautiful, intricate spider web, shimmering with dew. Each strand represents a desire, an expectation, a belief we hold. The more strands we create, the more we become entangled, unable to move freely. This is the essence of attachment, or upadana in Pali, a fundamental concept that illuminates the source of our deepest dis-ease. At its core, attachment operates through a mechanism of expectation, and fear. We form an idea of how things should be, how our relationships should unfold, how our careers should progress, how we ourselves should feel or be perceived. When reality inevitably deviates from these rigid mental blueprints, we experience discomfort, disappointment, and often profound pain. This pain isn't inherent in the situation itself. It arises from the gap between our expectation and the present reality. For instance, if you cling to the idea of a perfect partner, any perceived flaw or disagreement can become a source of immense suffering. The fear of losing what we possess, be it a loved one, a job, or even a fleeting moment of happiness, creates a constant undercurrent of anxiety. We hold on tightly, thinking that by doing so, we can somehow control the uncontrollable, preserve the impermanent. Consider how this plays out in our daily lives. Take your career. For example, we might cling fiercely to a particular job title, a salary level, or a certain level of recognition. If a promotion doesn't materialize, if a project fails, or if a colleague receives more praise, we feel a deep sense of inadequacy or frustration. The suffering isn't just about the external event, it's about our attachment to a specific outcome, a particular definition of success, or an idealized image of ourselves as competent and valued. Similarly, in relationships, we often cling to the way things used to be, or how we think they should be. We might cling to the idea of a partner's perfect behavior, or a child's unwavering obedience. When they act independently or differently from our expectations, it triggers anger, resentment, or sadness. This clinging prevents us from seeing and appreciating the person as they are in the present moment, with all their imperfections and evolving nature. Perhaps one of the most subtle yet powerful forms of clinging is to our sense of self, our identity. We construct an elaborate narrative of who we are, our beliefs, our opinions, our achievements, our failures. We become deeply invested in this self-image, often defending it fiercely, even when it no longer serves us. If someone challenges our beliefs, criticizes our actions, or simply sees us differently than we see ourselves, it can feel like a personal attack, a threat to our very existence. This attachment to I and mine creates a constant need for validation, for external confirmation that our constructed self is indeed real and valuable. But this self is constantly shifting, like clouds in the sky. When we cling to it, we cling to an illusion of permanence where none exists. This relentless cycle of clinging, expectation, and disappointment ultimately creates an invisible prison within our own minds. It's a self-imposed confinement that prevents us from experiencing true inner freedom and peace. We become so preoccupied with holding on to what we think we need, or what we fear losing, that we miss the richness and spontaneity of the present moment. Our energy is consumed by worry, by grasping, by resisting change, leaving little room for joy, creativity, or genuine connection. We might intellectualize this concept, nodding in agreement. But the true challenge lies in recognizing these subtle forms of clinging as they arise, moment by moment, in our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Consider the ancient parable of the man clinging to a burning coal. There was once a man walking along a path who stumbled upon a glowing coal, mistaking it for a precious gem. He eagerly picked it up and clutched it tightly in his hand. As he continued his journey, the coal grew hotter and hotter, searing his flesh. Yet, he refused to let go. His hand burned, his arm ached, and his whole body began to tremble with pain. But the thought of losing his treasure was unbearable. Passers-by noticed his agony and advised him to drop the coal, explaining it was worthless and harmful. But the man, blinded by his attachment and the fear of losing what he believed was valuable, clung on, enduring immense suffering, simply because he was afraid to let go of what he mistakenly identified as his property. His gain, his suffering was entirely self-inflicted, not by the coal itself, but by his unwillingness to release his grip. This story beautifully illustrates our own human predicament. We often cling to things that cause us immense pain, a grudge we refuse to release, a toxic relationship we won't leave, a belief about ourselves that limits our potential. We hold on to these burning coals not because they bring us joy, but because we fear the emptiness of letting go, the unknown that lies beyond. We equate attachment with security, even when that security is an illusion built on suffering. The insight here is profound. True liberation begins not with acquiring more, but with bravely releasing what no longer serves us, what causes us pain. Understanding the suffering that arises from clinging is the first crucial step on our path towards inner freedom. It's the moment we acknowledge the burning in our hand and begin to question why we are holding on. Only by truly seeing and understanding this fundamental source of our distress can we then begin to explore the pathways out of it. And this journey out of clinging, as we shall soon discover, leads directly to the powerful practices of mindfulness and awakened awareness, which serve as our guides. From recognizing the suffering caused by attachment, we are now ready to explore the practices that offer a gentle yet powerful release. The understanding of our attachment is the very ground upon which we can begin to cultivate Chan-near mindfulness, the key that unlocks the door to the present moment and begins our journey towards true freedom. Having explored the pervasive nature of clinging and how it creates a prison of suffering within our minds, we now turn to the key that unlocks that prison door: mindfulness. In the bustling landscape of our modern lives, where distractions clamor for our attention and our thoughts endlessly drift between past regrets and future anxieties, Chan-near mindfulness offers a profound antidote. It's not an esoteric practice reserved for monks in remote monasteries. Rather, it's a deeply practical and accessible skill that can transform the fabric of your daily experience. So, what exactly is mindfulness? At its simplest, mindfulness is the ability to pay full attention to the present moment, without judgment. It's about being fully aware of what's happening, as it's happening, without getting caught up in elaborating thoughts, emotional reactions, or preconceived notions. Imagine you're holding a cup of tea. Without mindfulness, you might be sipping the tea while your mind is rehashing an argument from yesterday, planning tomorrow's tasks, or scrolling through your phone. With mindfulness, however, you would fully experience the warmth of the cup in your hands, the delicate aroma rising, the subtle taste on your tongue, the sensation of the liquid moving down your throat. There's no good or bad, just the pure, unadulterated experience of drinking tea. This brings us to a crucial distinction. Mindfulness is not about thinking, but about direct experiencing. Our minds are incredible tools, constantly analyzing, planning, and creating narratives. But this constant mental chatter often pulls us away from the richness of the present. We spend so much time thinking about life that we forget to live it. Mindfulness helps us disengage from the relentless stream of thoughts and bring our awareness back to our senses, to our breath, to the physical sensations of our bodies, and to the environment around us. It's not about emptying the mind. That's often a misconception. It's about observing the mind without getting entangled in its contents. When a thought arises, we simply notice it, acknowledge its presence, and then gently bring our attention back to our chosen anchor, perhaps the breath. We don't judge the thought. We don't try to push it away. And we certainly don't chase after it down a rabbit hole of rumination. The benefits of cultivating mindfulness are vast and scientifically well documented, extending far beyond the realm of spiritual practice. One of the most immediate and impactful benefits is a significant reduction in stress and anxiety. When we're anchored in the present moment, our minds are less likely to wander into scenarios of potential future threats or past grievances, which are often the primary drivers of stress. Mindfulness helps us recognize stress responses in our bodies earlier, allowing us to respond with greater awareness rather than automatic reactivity. It also enhances our ability to focus and concentrate, making us more effective in our work and daily tasks. By training our attention to stay with one thing at a time, we improve our cognitive clarity and efficiency. Furthermore, mindfulness has a profound impact on our emotional well-being. It allows us to observe our emotions as transient phenomena, rather than being overwhelmed or defined by them. We learn to create a little space between the emotion and our reaction to it. This space is where our freedom lies. Instead of immediately lashing out in anger or collapsing into sadness, we can pause, acknowledge the emotion, and choose a more skillful response. This leads to improved emotional regulation and a greater sense of inner peace. Finally, mindfulness significantly enhances our connections with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. When we are truly present, we listen more deeply, communicate more authentically, and experience life with greater vibrancy and appreciation. So, how can we actually practice mindfulness in our daily lives? It's much simpler than you might imagine. And it doesn't require hours of dedicated meditation, though that can certainly deepen the practice. Here are a few foundational exercises you can integrate into your routine. First, and perhaps most fundamental, is mindful breathing. This is often the starting point for any mindfulness practice. Find a comfortable posture, whether sitting or lying down. Gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Notice the cool air entering your nostrils, the slight expansion of your belly as you inhale, the warmth of the air leaving as you exhale. Don't try to control your breath, just observe it as it naturally is. When your mind wanders, and it will, that's perfectly normal. Simply acknowledge where it went, and gently, kindly bring your attention back to your breath. This repeated act of returning to the breath strengthens your attention muscle. Even just a few minutes of mindful breathing each day can make a significant difference. Next, try mindful eating. How often do we eat while distracted, watching television, scrolling on our phones, or rushing through a meal for your next meal, or even just a single bite? Dedicate your full attention to the act of eating. Notice the colors, shapes, and textures of your food. Bring it to your nose and inhale its aroma. Take a small bite and notice the taste on your tongue. Sweet, sour, salty, bitter. Chew slowly, noticing the sensations in your mouth. Pay attention to the act of swallowing. This practice transforms a routine activity into a rich sensory experience, grounding you firmly in the present. Finally, mindful walking is another excellent way to practice. Whether you're walking to the store, around your garden, or simply from one room to another, bring your awareness to the sensations of walking. Feel your feet making contact with the ground, the shifting of your weight, the movement of your legs and arms. Notice the sounds around you, the sights, the smells. You're not trying to get somewhere. You're simply experiencing the act of walking itself. This turns an often unconscious activity into an opportunity for presence and awareness. The story of the Zen master and the tea ceremony beautifully encapsulates the essence of mindfulness. A student approached a renowned Zen master and asked, "Master, what do you do before enlightenment?" The master replied, "I carry water. I chop wood." The student then asked, "And what do you do after enlightenment?" The master smiled and said, "I carry water. I chop wood." Confused, the student pressed, "But what's the difference?" The master responded, "Before enlightenment, when I carry water, I think about chopping wood. When I chop wood, I think about carrying water after enlightenment. When I carry water, I simply carry water. When I chop wood, I simply chop wood." This story highlights that mindfulness isn't about radically changing what we do, but how we do it. It's about being fully present in each moment, giving our undivided attention to the task at hand. No matter how mundane, the enlightened state isn't a magical transformation of reality, but a profound shift in our relationship to it. A relationship characterized by complete presence and acceptance. Cultivating mindfulness is an ongoing journey, not a destination. There will be days when your mind feels like a chaotic marketplace, and others when it's calm like a still lake. The key is patience, persistence, and self-compassion. Each time you notice your mind wandering, and gently guide it back to the present, you are strengthening the muscle of your awareness. This consistent practice, even in small doses, gradually rewires your brain, creating new neural pathways that support greater calm, focus, and emotional resilience. As we become more skilled in anchoring ourselves in the present moment through mindfulness, we lay the fertile ground for something even deeper to emerge. Tin Thuk, awakened awareness. Mindfulness is the gentle illumination that shows us the path, allowing us to see clearly. With this clarity, we can then begin to perceive the deeper truths of existence, moving beyond simple presence to a more profound understanding of reality itself. From the gentle anchor of the breath, we prepare to open our eyes to the expansive light of awakened awareness, transforming not just how we feel, but how we fundamentally understand the world around us. Having cultivated the steady presence of mindfulness, anchoring ourselves in the fertile ground of the present moment, we can now turn our gaze towards a deeper, more expansive dimension. Tin Thuk, awakened awareness. This isn't some mystical, unattainable state reserved for a select few. Rather, it's a profound recognition of the true nature of reality, a clarity that emerges when the clouds of delusion and distraction begin to part, If mindfulness is the act of gently turning on a lamp in a dimly lit room, awakened awareness is the realization that the room itself is filled with light, far beyond the reach of that single lamp. Awakened awareness, often synonymous with terms like enlightenment or Bodhi in Buddhist traditions, isn't about acquiring new knowledge from the outside, but about unveiling the wisdom that already resides within. It's the direct, experiential understanding that everything is interconnected, impermanent, and ultimately devoid of a separate, fixed self. It's a profound shift from merely thinking about reality to directly perceiving it as it truly is. While mindfulness is the means, the focused attention on the present moment, awakened awareness, can be seen as the outcome or the deeper insight that arises from sustained mindfulness. When we diligently practice mindfulness, our minds become calmer, clearer, and more receptive. In this clarity, we begin to see through the illusions that ordinarily obscure our perception. One of the most powerful aspects of awakened awareness is its ability to help us recognize that our thoughts and emotions, while appearing solid and real, are in fact transient phenomena. They are like waves on an ocean. They arise, they crest, and they subside. With awakened awareness, we are no longer swept away by every wave. Instead, we begin to perceive the vast, calm expanse of the ocean beneath. This doesn't mean we stop having thoughts or feelings. It means we no longer identify with them so completely. We realize they are not us. This creates an incredible sense of space and freedom, allowing us to observe our inner landscape without judgment or attachment. There are indeed different levels or nuances of awakened awareness, much like peeling layers from an onion. Initially, it might manifest as a simple, clear recognition of a particular emotion as it arises, without immediately reacting to it. For example, feeling a surge of anger, and instead of immediately lashing out, you simply notice, anger is here. This is a foundational level of awareness. As practice deepens, this awareness can expand to encompass a profound understanding of impermanence, anicca, the realization that everything, without exception, is in a constant state of flux. This insight frees us from the futile struggle to hold on to things that are destined to change. Further still, awakened awareness can lead to the liberating insight of non-self anatta, the understanding that there is no fixed, independent, enduring self at the core of our being. This dissolves the illusion of a separate I and mine, which is often the deepest source of suffering. So, how do we cultivate this awakened awareness in our everyday lives? It begins by consistently applying the principles of mindfulness, extending our observational skills beyond just our immediate sensations to our entire mental and emotional landscape. One powerful practice is to observe your thoughts as they arise, without getting entangled in their content. Imagine your thoughts are clouds passing across the sky. You can see them, identify their shapes and forms, but you don't jump on them and fly away. You simply watch them drift by. This practice helps to de-identify with your thoughts, allowing you to see that you are the awareness, observing the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. Similarly, observe your emotions. When you feel joy, notice the physical sensations in your body, the quality of that emotion, and how it arises and passes. When sadness or frustration appears, treat it with the same gentle curiosity, instead of suppressing it or letting it overwhelm you. Simply acknowledge its presence. Sadness is here now. This compassionate observation, devoid of judgment, allows emotions to flow through you naturally, preventing them from taking root and becoming chronic states. Furthermore, consciously observe your behavior and reactions in different situations. When faced with a challenging person or a difficult circumstance, notice your immediate impulse. Is it to retaliate, withdraw, or become defensive? Awakened awareness allows us to pause in that critical moment, creating a space between stimulus and response. In this space, we gain the freedom to choose a skillful, compassionate response rather than reacting impulsively out of old habits or conditioning. This capacity for conscious choice is a hallmark of truly awakened living. The concept of awakened awareness can be beautifully illustrated by the story of the blind man whose sight was miraculously restored. Imagine a person who has been blind from birth. Their world is one of touch, sound, smell, and taste, but they have no concept of visual light, colors, or shapes. One day, through a miraculous intervention, their sight is suddenly restored. For the first time, they see the vibrant hues of a sunset, the intricate patterns of leaves on a tree, the loving expression on a friend's face. This isn't just about gaining new information. It's a fundamental shift in their entire mode of perception and understanding of reality. The world isn't just different. They themselves are fundamentally different in how they experience it. This analogy powerfully conveys the essence of awakened awareness. We often live in a state of spiritual blindness, obscured by our cravings, aversions, and delusions. We perceive reality through the filters of our conditioned minds, mistakenly believing our limited perspective is the whole truth. Awakened awareness is like regaining our spiritual sight. Suddenly, we see the interconnectedness of all things, the impermanence of every phenomenon, and the emptiness of a separate self. This seeing is not intellectual, it's a direct, intuitive knowing that transforms our entire being. It liberates us from the suffering caused by clinging to illusions. Cultivating awakened awareness is a continuous process of gentle inquiry and consistent practice. It's not about striving for a grand, dramatic realization, but about steadily refining our capacity for clear, non-judgmental observation in every moment. It's about being truly present with whatever arises, both internally and externally, and allowing reality to reveal itself as it is. When we begin to see the world through the lens of awakened awareness, we naturally come to a profound realization. Every person we meet becomes a mirror. They reflect back to us aspects of ourselves, our unresolved issues, our hidden biases, but also our innate capacity for kindness and wisdom. This understanding marks a crucial transition as we move from observing our own internal states to understanding our interconnectedness with others. The clarity gained from awakened awareness allows us to not only look inward with deeper insight, but also to look outward with greater compassion and understanding, recognizing the shared humanity in all beings. This profound insight sets the stage for our next exploration, how every interaction becomes a teaching, illuminating aspects of our own journey. After understanding how mindfulness anchors us in the present and awakened awareness illuminates the true nature of reality, we arrive at one of the most transformative practices in Buddhist wisdom, Bungbo, letting go. This concept is often misunderstood as giving up, resigning oneself to fate, or becoming apathetic, but nothing could be further from the truth. Letting go isn't an act of weakness. It's a profound act of strength. A conscious, deliberate choice to release the grip of control, expectations, and resistance to what is. It's the courageous act of dropping the metaphorical burning coal we discussed earlier. Not because we don't care, but precisely because we care enough about our own well-being to stop inflicting self-made suffering. At its heart, letting go is about acknowledging that some things are simply beyond our control. We can influence, we can strive, we can act skillfully, but we cannot dictate every outcome. Life, by its very nature, is fluid and unpredictable. When we cling to a specific result, a particular person, a past version of ourselves, or even a future ideal, we are fighting against the fundamental current of existence. This resistance creates immense mental and emotional strain, much like trying to swim upstream against a powerful river. Letting go, then, is about surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that what is meant to be will unfold, and what is not will pass away. It's about releasing the desperate need for things to be other than they are. The critical distinction here is between letting go and giving up. Giving up implies resignation, a lack of effort, a defeatist attitude. Letting go, however, is an active, empowering choice. When you give up, you abandon the task. When you let go, you might still engage with the task, but you release your emotional attachment to a particular outcome. You invest your effort, your intention, but you're not shattered if things don't go exactly as planned. This subtle but significant shift liberates immense energy that was previously consumed by worry, fear, and frustration. Imagine a gardener who meticulously tends to their plants, providing water and nutrients. This is effort, but they also understand that they cannot force a seed to sprout immediately, nor can they prevent a storm. They let go of the need to control the exact timing or every external factor, trusting in the natural process. This is letting go. The benefits of embracing this art are profound. First and foremost, it leads to a dramatic reduction in psychological burden. Think of the weight you carry when you endlessly replay past conversations, worry about future possibilities, or try to force situations to align with your desires. Letting go releases these heavy loads, allowing your mind to feel lighter, more spacious. This newfound lightness often translates into greater peace and equanimity, regardless of external circumstances. You become less reactive to life's inevitable ups and downs. Secondly, letting go opens up space for new possibilities. When our hands are tightly clenched, desperately clinging to what we have, we cannot receive anything new. By opening our hands, by releasing our grip, we create room for fresh experiences, new relationships, and unexpected opportunities to enter our lives. It's often said that true innovation and creativity emerge not when we force ideas, but when we step back and allow them to flow. Thirdly, and perhaps most powerfully, letting go allows us to find peace amidst uncertainty. In a world that is constantly changing, clinging to stability is a recipe for suffering. When we learn to let go, we become more adaptable, more resilient. We develop a deep inner knowing that we can navigate whatever comes our way, not by controlling it, but by trusting our capacity to adjust and respond skillfully. So, How do we begin to practice this profound art of liberation? It's a journey, not a single destination, and it involves several key steps. The first step is recognizing the clinging. This requires mindfulness. Pay attention to what you're holding on to. Is it an old hurt, a desire for approval, a need to be right, a particular image of yourself? Notice the physical sensations that accompany this clinging tension in your jaw, tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach. Acknowledging the grip is the first step towards loosening it. Second, accepting reality as it is. This doesn't mean condoning injustice or abandoning efforts for positive change. It means acknowledging the present moment for what it is, without resistance. If you're stuck in traffic, raging against it only adds to your suffering. Accepting the reality of the traffic allows you to choose a different internal response. If a relationship has ended, accepting that reality, however painful, is the first step towards healing. Resistance prolongs suffering. Acceptance opens the door to peace. Third, trusting in the flow of life. This involves cultivating a sense of confidence in the universe, or simply in the natural order of things. It's the understanding that just as seasons change and rivers flow to the sea, so too do situations and circumstances evolve. This isn't passive fatalism, it's an active faith in the interconnectedness and unfolding of existence. When we trust the flow, we expend less energy trying to control it and more energy flowing with it. Consider the insightful story of the traveler and the heavy backpack. Once, there was a traveler embarking on a long journey. Before setting out, he meticulously packed his backpack, filling it with everything he thought he might possibly need: extra clothes, tools, various provisions, and even some sentimental items from his past. As he walked, the backpack grew heavier and heavier, digging into his shoulders and slowing his pace. He became exhausted. His joy for the journey diminished by the increasing burden. Other travelers passed him, their steps light and free, carrying only what was essential. They advised him to lighten his load, to consider what he truly needed for this part of the journey. At first, he resisted, clinging to each item, convinced he might need it just in case. But as his weariness mounted, he began to examine each item. He found that many things were unnecessary for the immediate path, or were simply souvenirs from a past he no longer lived. One by one, he began to consciously remove items, carefully placing them by the roadside. With each item released, he felt a remarkable lightness. His steps grew more energetic, and he could finally enjoy the beauty of the landscape around him. He realized that the burden wasn't the journey itself, but his unwillingness to let go of what he no longer needed. This powerful analogy teaches us that life's journey is often made heavy, not by external circumstances, but by the emotional and mental baggage we insist on carrying. We cling to old grievances, past mistakes, future anxieties, and identities that no longer serve us. Each one adds weight to our internal backpack, draining our energy and obscuring our vision. The act of letting go is like shedding those unnecessary burdens, allowing us to move forward with greater ease, clarity, and joy. It's a continuous process of self-assessment. What am I holding on to that is causing me pain or hindering my progress? Embracing the art of letting go is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. There will be moments when you find yourself clinging again, moments when old habits of control and resistance resurface. The key is to approach these moments with self-compassion and renewed commitment. Each time you consciously choose to loosen your grip, you strengthen your capacity for freedom. It's like tending a garden. You continuously weed out what doesn't belong, allowing the beneficial plants to flourish. As we become more adept at this profound art of liberation, a remarkable shift occurs. We begin to see ourselves and the world with far greater clarity, unclouded by the distortions of our attachments. This enhanced vision reveals a fundamental truth about our relationships: that every person we meet is, in essence, a mirror. They reflect back to us not just who they are, but often profound aspects of our own inner landscape. The clarity achieved through letting go prepares us to truly understand this interconnectedness. When we release the need for others to fulfill our expectations or to be a certain way, we open ourselves to seeing them as they truly are. And in doing so, we gain invaluable insights into ourselves. This profound understanding of everyone is a mirror is the natural next step in our journey, unlocked by the wisdom of letting go. Having delved into the liberating practice of letting go, which clears the lens of our perception, we now arrive at a profound truth within Buddhist wisdom: the understanding that every person you meet is a mirror. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a deep insight into the nature of our interconnectedness and how our interactions with others offer invaluable pathways to self-discovery and growth. When we truly grasp this concept, our relationships transform from sources of frustration or fleeting pleasure into powerful opportunities for profound learning and liberation. What exactly does it mean that everyone is a mirror? It suggests that the qualities, behaviors, and emotions we perceive in others often reflect aspects of ourselves. These reflections can be positive, highlighting our own strengths, virtues, and aspirations. For instance, when you admire someone's kindness, courage, or wisdom, it's often because those very qualities resonate with something within your own being. Perhaps aspects you are cultivating or deeply value. Their light helps you see your own potential. However, the mirror concept becomes particularly potent when we encounter individuals who trigger discomfort, irritation, or strong negative reactions within us. It's easy to immediately blame them, to label them as difficult or flawed. But Buddhist teachings invite us to pause and consider a different perspective. What within me is being reflected by this person or situation? If someone's arrogance bothers you intensely, could it be touching on your own hidden insecurity? Or perhaps a part of you that also struggles with pride? If another's indecisiveness frustrates you, does it highlight your own need for control? Or perhaps an impatience with aspects of your own life? This isn't about blaming ourselves for others' actions, but about taking responsibility for our reactions and using them as doorways to understand our own inner landscape. This concept is deeply rooted in the Buddhist principle of Dian Hoi dependent origination, which posits that nothing exists in isolation. Everything arises in dependence upon other factors. All phenomena are interconnected in an intricate web of cause and effect. Our interactions with others are not separate, isolated events, but integral parts of this vast, dynamic web. My experience of you is shaped not only by who you are, but also by who I am, by my past experiences, my beliefs, my current emotional state. Therefore, when you interact with someone, you're not just encountering an external entity, you're engaging in a relational dance, where each partner inevitably reflects back aspects of the other. Consider a common scenario: you meet someone new, and instantly, you feel an inexplicable dislike or irritation. Our usual tendency is to project all the negativity onto them. They're rude. They're annoying. I just don't like their vibe. But with the mirror principle, we're invited to ask, what is this feeling telling me about myself? Perhaps their bluntness reminds you of a time you felt hurt by someone's words, or it touches on your own fear of speaking your truth. Perhaps their perceived arrogance is challenging a hidden insecurity within you. This isn't to say that all negative reactions are solely about us, or that we should tolerate harmful behavior, but it encourages a shift from immediate blame to curious self-inquiry, transforming conflict into an opportunity for personal growth. The power of this perspective lies in its ability to cultivate immense compassion and understanding. When we recognize that another person's challenging behavior might be a reflection of their own suffering, their own unresolved issues, it becomes harder to simply condemn them. We begin to see their actions through a lens of shared humanity. And when we recognize that their actions are also reflecting something in us, we cultivate a self-compassion, realizing that our own imperfections are part of the universal human experience. This reciprocal understanding fosters deeper empathy, allowing us to connect with others not just on the surface, but at the level of our shared vulnerability. One powerful illustration of everyone is a mirror can be found in a story about a Zen master and a thief. One evening, a thief broke into the home of a Zen master. The master, being an enlightened practitioner, remained calm. He found the thief rummaging through his meager belongings. With a gentle smile, the master said, "You must have traveled a long way to visit me. I have nothing much to offer you. But please, take these clothes as a gift. It's cold tonight." The thief, startled but grateful, took the clothes and quickly fled. The next morning, the master looked out at the sunrise. He sighed and said, "Oh, I wish I could have given him my moonlight as well." His disciples were puzzled. "Master," they asked, "why did you give a thief your clothes? And why do you lament not giving him the moonlight?" The master replied, "When I looked at him, I didn't see a thief. I saw a fellow human being. And when I saw his desire, I wondered what desire still exists within me that could lead to such action. He was a mirror, showing me the potential for suffering that exists in all of us, including myself. If we cling to desires, my regret about the moonlight was not for him, but for myself, that I had not yet fully cultivated the wisdom to illuminate his path to peace." This story profoundly illustrates how the master, through his awakened awareness, didn't label or judge the thief. Instead, he used the encounter as an opportunity for self-reflection and compassion. He saw the thief's action as a manifestation of suffering driven by desire, and then turned the mirror inward. Inquiring about his own remaining attachments, he recognized the shared humanity, the shared potential for both suffering and liberation. This radical empathy, born from the mirror principle, transcends superficial judgments and opens the heart. Practicing this mirror principle requires consistent effort and courage. It means pausing before reacting strongly to someone and asking, what quality in this person is evoking such a strong response in me? Does this reflect something I dislike or fear in myself? Is there a past experience that this person is unconsciously reminding me of? What lesson can I learn about myself from this interaction? It's about shifting from an external focus of blame to an internal journey of inquiry. This doesn't mean becoming self-absorbed. Rather, it's about refining our internal state so that we can engage with the world more skillfully and compassionately. By consciously adopting the perspective that everyone is a mirror, we embark on an incredibly rich path of self-understanding. Every difficult conversation, every challenging relationship, every moment of admiration or irritation becomes a precious teaching. It helps us uncover our own hidden fears, our unacknowledged desires, and our unexamined assumptions. It also reveals our innate capacity for empathy, kindness, and wisdom. This profound shift in perspective lays the groundwork for a deeper dive into the Buddhist concept of vô ngã, non-self. Because if everyone is a mirror reflecting aspects of us, then the very notion of a fixed, separate self begins to dissolve. The mirror reveals the fluid, interconnected nature of our existence, preparing us to explore the profound liberation that comes from understanding the limits of the ego and the boundless nature of true reality. As we uncover the profound truth that everyone is a mirror, reflecting aspects of our inner world back to us, we are naturally led to examine the very concept of the self that we believe exists. This brings us to one of the most distinctive and often misunderstood teachings in Buddhism, vô ngã anatta, the doctrine of non-self or no soul. This isn't about denying our existence or suggesting we are mere robots. Rather, it's a radical insight into the illusory and impermanent nature of what we perceive as a fixed, independent, and unchanging I. For most of us, the idea of a permanent, solid self is deeply ingrained. We identify with our names, our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, our memories, our roles in life. We cling to the notion that there's a distinct, enduring entity, an I that experiences life, makes choices, and persists through time. This, I feel, so real, so central to our existence, that the idea of its non-existence can be unsettling, even frightening. Yet, Buddhist wisdom asserts that this clinging to a fixed self is a fundamental source of suffering, for it creates a false sense of separation from others and from the ever-changing reality of life. The Buddha taught that what we perceive as the self is merely a collection of constantly changing phenomena, often categorized into what are known as the nu-1-5 aggregates of clinging suck form, body. This refers to our physical body, its sensations, and the material world. Our body is constantly changing, cells die and regenerate. We age. Our physical state fluctuates. Is this fixed and permanent thaw-feeling sensation? This includes all our feelings, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. These feelings arise and pass away moment by moment, influenced by countless factors. Are these stable tung perception, cognition? This is how we recognize and interpret sensory input. When we see a tree, our mind labels it as tree. These perceptions are influenced by our past experiences and conditioning and are inherently fluid. Are these unchanging Han mental formations? Volition, this encompasses all mental activities. Intentions, thoughts, habits, and volitions. These are the active processes of the mind that lead to actions and karma. They are constantly in motion, shaping and being shaped. Are these static thuk consciousness? This is the basic awareness that underlies our experience, the faculty by which we know things. While consciousness might seem continuous, it is also a stream of momentary awareness, arising in dependence on the other aggregates. Is this an independent entity? When we examine each of these aggregates individually, we find that none of them, taken alone, can be definitively pointed to as the self. Furthermore, they are all impermanent, interdependent, and subject to change and suffering. They are like the components of a chariot: the wheels, the axle, the body, the reins. If you take away all the components, is there still a chariot? No. The chariot is simply a label we apply to the collection of these parts in a certain configuration. Similarly, the self is a label, a conceptual construct, that we apply to the ever-changing collection of the 5 aggregates. The illusion of a permanent self fuels our attachment to things, experiences, and even our own opinions. If we believe we are a fixed I, then we strive to protect my reputation, accumulate my possessions, and defend my beliefs. This clinging to my and mine is the direct cause of endless struggle and dissatisfaction. When we understand the nature of non-self, the tightness of this grip begins to loosen. The fear of death, for instance, is often rooted in the fear of the annihilation of this perceived self. When we realize there was no fixed entity to begin with, the concept of annihilation becomes less frightening, transforming into a recognition of continuous change and transformation. The benefits of genuinely understanding and experiencing non-self are profound. It leads to a tremendous reduction in clinging and ego-driven behaviors. With less emphasis on protecting a separate self, we become less defensive, less arrogant, and more open to learning. This fosters a natural development of long-to-be compassion. If there is no fixed, I separate from you, then your suffering becomes more intimately connected to my own, dissolving the artificial barriers between us. This understanding also brings a deep sense of freedom from the fear of loss and change. If everything is inherently impermanent and devoid of an independent self, then clinging to anything becomes futile, and we can embrace the flow of life with greater ease and equanimity. A classic parable used to illustrate the concept of non-self is that of the chariot. The revered Buddhist monk Nagasena was once questioned by King Milinda about the nature of identity. The king asked, "What is your name?" "Venerable Sir Nagasena," replied, "I am called Nagasena." "O great king, but this is only a designation, a mere name. In ultimate reality, there is no person to be found." The king, bewildered, challenged him, "If there is no person, then who is it that receives robes, food, lodging, and medicines? Who is it that studies the Dhamma? Who is it that commits evil or good deeds? If there is no person, there is no merit or demerit, no enlightenment. Your statement is false." Nagasena then asked the king, "How did you come here?" "O king," the king replied, "by chariot." Nagasena continued, "O king, what is a chariot? Is the pole the chariot? Is the axle the chariot? Are the wheels the chariot? Is the frame the chariot? Are the reins the chariot? Is the yoke the chariot?" The king answered, "No, venerable sir, none of these parts individually is the chariot." Nagasena pressed further, "Is the chariot, then, the collection of all these parts?" The king conceded, "No, venerable sir, not the collection either, in itself." Then Nagasena concluded, "So, O king, just as the word chariot is merely a designation for a collection of parts, so too is Nagasena a designation for a collection of aggregates, In ultimate reality, there is no fixed chariot, nor is there a fixed person called Nagasena. This parable brilliantly demonstrates that while we use labels and concepts to navigate the world, these labels do not refer to inherently existing, independent entity. The chariot is functional because of its parts, but no single part is the chariot, nor is there a mystical chariotness separate from its components. Similarly, the self is a functional construct, a collection of processes and phenomena, but there is no permanent, unchanging essence at its core. Practicing the understanding of non-self in daily life involves a continuous inquiry. When you feel a strong emotion like anger, ask, whose anger is this? Is there a permanent me that owns this anger? Or is it just anger arising and passing? When you experience physical pain, observe it. Is this pain me? Or is it a sensation occurring within the body that I am aware of? When you cling to an opinion, question, is this my absolute truth? Or just a thought formation I am identifying with? This introspective inquiry, supported by mindfulness, gradually weakens the illusion of a solid self. It's not about becoming nihilistic, but about living with a deeper understanding of reality, recognizing that our individual experience is part of a vast, interconnected flow. When we loosen our grip on the fixed idea of who I am, we open ourselves to greater fluidity, adaptability, and boundless compassion. We realize that the suffering we experience is not caused by life itself, but by our attachment to a fixed I in a constantly changing world. This profound insight into non-self is crucial for learning to truly master our emotions, as it frees us from identifying with them so completely. If there is no permanent self to be angry, then anger can simply be observed and allowed to pass, leading us gracefully into our next topic. Having explored the liberating truth of non-self, we now understand that our self is not a fixed, independent entity, and neither are our emotions. This insight is pivotal as we approach the crucial practice of mastering emotions. In the modern world, where emotional volatility often leads to burnout, strained relationships, and deep internal distress, learning to skillfully navigate our inner emotional landscape is not just a spiritual endeavor, but a vital life skill. Buddhist teachings offer profound wisdom on how to approach our feelings, transforming them from overwhelming forces into manageable experiences. Often, we mistakenly believe that our emotions are us, that we are our anger, or our sadness, or our joy. This identification is precisely what gives emotions their power to control us. However, from a Buddhist perspective, emotions are understood as transient states. Much like passing clouds in the vast sky of our awareness, they arise. They linger for a time, and then they pass away. They are not permanent residents, nor are they the essence of who we are. Recognizing this fundamental truth is the first step towards emotional liberation. When anger arises, instead of thinking, "I am angry," we learn to observe. Anger is present. This subtle linguistic shift creates a crucial psychological distance, allowing us to be the observer rather than being consumed by the emotion. The core technique for mastering emotions is observing them without judgment or identification. This practice, known as Vedana, the contemplation of feelings in the framework of the Satipatthana Sutta, invites us to bring a mindful awareness to our emotional experiences. When an emotion surfaces, Instead of immediately reacting to it, either by suppressing it or by acting it out, we simply acknowledge its presence. We tune into the physical sensations it creates in the body, a tightening in the chest, a churning in the stomach, heat in the face. We notice its quality. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? We observe its intensity. Is it subtle or overwhelming? The key here is to observe without judgment. We tend to label emotions as good or bad. Joy is good. Anger is bad. This judgment adds another layer of suffering. When we judge an emotion as bad, we create resistance, which only amplifies its power. Instead, we approach all emotions with an attitude of openness and gentle curiosity. Just as a scientist observes a phenomenon without wishing it were different, we observe our emotions. We allow them to be present, knowing that by simply acknowledging them, we lessen their grip. This non-judgmental observation helps us to create space between the stimulus and our reaction in our daily lives. External events or internal thoughts often trigger immediate emotional responses. Someone says something irritating, and instantly, anger flares, a worry pops into mind, and immediately, anxiety takes hold. Mindfulness allows us to insert a tiny pause in that automatic chain reaction. In that pause, that brief moment of awareness, we gain the freedom to choose our response rather than being driven by conditioned reactivity. This is where our true power lies, not in controlling the emotion itself, but in controlling our relationship to it, beyond mere observation. Buddhist teachings also offer profound methods for transforming negative emotions into positive energy. This isn't about denial or forced positivity, but about skillful redirection. For instance, anger, when unchecked, can be destructive, but if we can observe the raw energy of anger without attachment, we might recognize its underlying component of passion or a desire for change. This energy, once unskillfully expressed, can be transformed into a powerful drive for justice or a courageous stance for what is right. Similarly, sadness, when met with self-compassion, can open the heart to profound empathy for the suffering of others. The practice of metta loving-kindness meditation is a powerful tool here, where we intentionally cultivate wishes of well-being for ourselves and others, which naturally softens the harsh edges of negative emotions. Consider the analogy of a person driving a car through heavy fog. When thick fog rolls in, a novice driver might panic, slamming on the brakes or trying to speed through, making the situation more dangerous. A seasoned, calm driver, however, knows that trying to fight the fog is futile. They don't try to scare it away, nor do they pretend it isn't there. Instead, they slow down, turn on their fog lights, focus intently on the road just ahead, and trust that the fog will eventually dissipate on its own. They accept the reality of the fog, adapt their driving, and proceed with heightened awareness. Our emotions are much like this fog. When intense emotions arise, like anger or fear, our instinct might be to panic, to suppress them, or to react impulsively. This is like trying to fight the fog. Instead, the practice of mastering emotions invites us to acknowledge the presence of the fog emotion. Anger is here. Slow down, don't react immediately. Take a deep breath. Turn on your inner fog lights, mindfulness. Observe the emotion with clarity, noticing its sensations, its intensity, its impermanence. Trust that it will pass. Emotions are temporary. They are waves, not the ocean. Proceed with heightened awareness. Choose your response mindfully, rather than impulsively. This mindful approach allows emotions to simply be without becoming overwhelming. By not feeding them with our identification or resistance, they lose their power and naturally dissipate. The energy they carried is then freed up, leaving us with a clearer, calmer mind. The cultivation of emotional mastery is an ongoing process that requires patience and persistent practice. It's not about never feeling negative emotions again. That would be impossible and undesirable. As all emotions carry valuable information, it's about changing our relationship with them, so they no longer dictate our actions or steal our inner peace. Each time we consciously observe an emotion without judgment, each time we choose a skillful response over an automatic reaction, we are strengthening our capacity for emotional intelligence and true freedom. This ability to skillfully navigate our inner emotional world is not an isolated practice. It profoundly impacts our relationships with others and paves the way for deeper connections. When we are not hijacked by our own emotions, we can approach others with greater clarity, empathy, and understanding. This emotional mastery is therefore a direct gateway to cultivating long-to-be compassion, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. When we understand our own emotional struggles, we develop a natural empathy for the struggles of others, seeing beyond their external actions to the shared human experience of suffering, and thus, we seamlessly transition to the boundless power of compassion, which is built upon the foundation of a well-regulated inner emotional landscape. Having learned to navigate our own inner emotional landscape with greater skill and insight, recognizing that our feelings are transient and not defining, we naturally open ourselves to one of the most transformative qualities in Buddhist practice, long-to-be metta, or boundless compassion. This isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's a powerful, active wish for all beings, including ourselves, to be free from suffering and to experience genuine happiness. It's the profound understanding that just as we desire peace and well-being, so too does every other living creature. When we cultivate compassion, we break down the walls of separation and tap into the inherent interconnectedness of all life. At its core, compassion, in Buddhism metta karuna, loving kindness and compassion, is a state of mind that responds to suffering with a heartfelt wish for that suffering to cease. It extends beyond mere sympathy, which is simply feeling sorry for someone. Compassion moves us towards action. Whether that action is internal, cultivating positive thoughts and intentions, or external, offering help and support, it's a universal love that doesn't discriminate based on background, beliefs, or even past actions. The scope of compassion is truly boundless. Often practiced in expanding circles, compassion for oneself. This is where it must begin. We cannot genuinely offer compassion to others if we are constantly judging, criticizing, or neglecting ourselves. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience you would offer to a dear friend facing difficulty. It means acknowledging your own suffering, mistakes, and imperfections without harsh self-criticism. Compassion for loved ones. Once self-compassion is cultivated, it naturally extends to those closest to us, family, friends, and partners. We wish for their well-being and freedom from suffering, recognizing their struggles as deeply human. Compassion for neutral people. This involves extending kindness to strangers, to people we encounter briefly but have no strong feelings about. The cashier at the grocery store, the person walking by, the delivery driver. It breaks down the habit of indifference. Compassion for difficult people. This is often the most challenging, yet profoundly liberating stage. It means cultivating a wish for well-being for those who have caused us harm, irritation, or who simply trigger negative reactions in us. This doesn't mean condoning their actions or putting ourselves in harm's way, but recognizing that their harmful behavior often stems from their own ignorance, fear, or suffering. When we can wish them well, we free ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment. Compassion for all beings. The ultimate aspiration is to extend this boundless compassion to all living creatures, without exception, seen and unseen, near and far, great and small. It's a universal embrace of the shared desire for happiness and freedom from pain. The primary method for cultivating compassion is through metta-loving-kindness meditation, also known as metta bhavana. This practice involves systematically directing phrases of well-wishing, often silently, to oneself, and then progressively to others. Typical phrases include, "May I be free from suffering. May I be healthy and strong. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful." Once these phrases resonate deeply for oneself, they are extended outwards. May you, a loved one, be free from suffering. May you be healthy and strong. May you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. And so on. To neutral people, difficult people, and eventually to all beings. This practice actively rewires the brain, fostering pathways of empathy and positive emotional states. The benefits of cultivating compassion are far-reaching, transforming both our inner world and our external relationships. Internally, it acts as a powerful antidote to negative emotions like anger, fear, and resentment. When the heart is filled with warmth and goodwill, there is simply less room for hostility. It also promotes mental well-being, reducing stress, anxiety, and even symptoms of depression. People who regularly practice compassion often report a greater sense of purpose and connection. Externally, compassion dramatically improves our relationships. When we approach others with an open heart and a genuine wish for their well-being, communication becomes more authentic. Conflicts are resolved with greater ease, and bonds deepen. It allows us to see beyond superficial differences and connect on a deeper, more human level. Ultimately, compassion brings a profound sense of inner peace and contentment. Knowing that we are actively contributing to a more loving and harmonious world. Starting with our own hearts, consider the profound example of a mother's unconditional love for her child. A mother, upon seeing her child in distress or pain, feels an immediate, overwhelming urge to alleviate that suffering. Her love is not conditional on the child's behavior. It's an innate, fierce desire for the child's well-being and happiness, even if the child misbehaves. The underlying desire for their ultimate good remains. This unconditional love, this profound willingness to sacrifice and to wish for happiness above all else, is a perfect human manifestation of metta. The mother doesn't analyze the child's worthiness or past actions. She simply responds with pure, unadulterated care and protection. She is willing to endure hardship herself, to alleviate the child's pain, This analogy teaches us that true compassion, like a mother's love, is unconditional and boundless. It doesn't ask for anything in return, nor does it judge. It simply is. When we extend this kind of care, even in small ways, to ourselves and to others, we tap into a universal wellspring of kindness that resides within us all. It reminds us that every being, deep down, yearns for happiness and freedom from pain. Just like that child, practicing compassion in daily life isn't always easy, especially when faced with challenging situations or difficult people. It requires continuous effort and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones. It means actively listening to others without judgment, seeking to understand their perspective, offering a kind word or a helping hand when opportunities arise, even for small gestures, forgiving others, and more importantly, forgiving ourselves, releasing the burden of past grievances, seeing the humanity in those who might seem different or even hostile, recognizing that their actions often come from a place of their own suffering. The cultivation of compassion is a journey that softens the heart, expands our capacity for love, and deepens our connection to the world around us. It's a powerful force that transforms not only our own lives but also the lives of those we touch. When our hearts are imbued with boundless compassion, we develop a natural resilience and inner strength, allowing us to face life's difficulties with grace. This gentle yet unwavering strength, born from an open heart, is precisely what allows us to cultivate Qian patience, seeing challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth and deepening our understanding. And so, the path of compassion seamlessly leads us to the profound wisdom of patience, acknowledging that true transformation unfolds over time, with enduring acceptance and unwavering resolve, building upon the boundless capacity of compassion that opens our hearts. We now turn to a virtue often undervalued in our fast-paced world, Qian Khanti, or patience. In Buddhist teachings, patience is far more than simply waiting. It's a profound and active state of endurance, tolerance, and resilience in the face of difficulty, pain, and provocation. Maintaining an inner calmness and equanimity, it's the quiet strength that allows us to navigate life's inevitable challenges without being swept away by frustration, anger, or despair. In our modern society, immediate gratification is often the default. We expect instant results, quick fixes, and rapid progress. This pervasive impatience leads to immense stress, disappointment, and a fragile emotional state when things don't unfold according to our hurried timelines. We want our meditation practice to yield instant serenity, our relationships to be immediately harmonious, and our career goals to materialize overnight. When they don't, impatience sets in, often followed by frustration, self-criticism, and the urge to abandon our efforts. However, true transformation, whether in personal growth, skill development, or spiritual insight, is rarely instantaneous. It's an organic process. Much like the growth of a mighty oak tree from a tiny acorn, this is where patience becomes indispensable. It acknowledges that every significant change, every deep understanding, every lasting happiness requires time, consiste d'effort, and a willingness to navigate periods of stagnation or even apparent regression. Patience is the wisdom that understands the natural rhythms of life, and respects the unfolding of events at their own pace. The practice of patience involves several key aspects. Tolerance for discomfort. This isn't about passively accepting abuse, but about developing the capacity to be with uncomfortable emotions, physical pain, or challenging situations without reacting impulsively. It's the ability to sit with restlessness during meditation, to listen to criticism without immediate defensiveness, or to endure a difficult period without lashing out. Acceptance of impermanence. Patience is deeply intertwined with the understanding of anicca, impermanence. It recognizes that everything changes, both pleasant and unpleasant states. When we're in a difficult situation, patience reminds us that this too shall pass. When we're striving for a goal, it reminds us that progress comes in cycles, and setbacks are a natural part of the journey. Non-reactivity to provocation. This is perhaps one of the most challenging forms of patience. When someone speaks harshly, acts unjustly, or otherwise provokes us, the natural impulse is to retaliate or defend ourselves. Patience allows us to pause, to observe our internal reaction, and to choose a more skillful response rooted in wisdom and compassion, rather than being driven by anger or ego. Steadfastness in effort. Patience is not idleness. It is perseverance. It means continuing to put in the effort, to practice, to learn, even when results are not immediately apparent or when progress feels slow. It's the commitment to the path itself, rather than just the destination. The benefits of cultivating patience are profound and far-reaching. Internally, it dramatically reduces stress and emotional volatility. When we stop fighting against reality and embrace the natural pace of life, our minds become calmer, more stable. We become less easily perturbed by external events. This leads to greater mental clarity and better decision-making, as we're less likely to act impulsively out of frustration. Patience fosters a sense of inner peace and contentment, as we learn to appreciate the process rather than solely focusing on the outcome. In our relationships, patience is a cornerstone of harmony. It allows us to give others the space they need, to understand their imperfections, and to navigate conflicts with greater understanding and less reactivity. It builds trust and deepens connection. In terms of achieving our goals, patience ensures that we don't abandon our efforts prematurely. Many worthwhile endeavors require sustained commitment over time, and patience provides the fuel for that endurance. Consider the classic parable of the farmer who plants a seed. A farmer carefully prepares the soil, plants a tiny seed, and waters it diligently. He doesn't stand over the seed every day, demanding that it sprout immediately. He doesn't dig it up repeatedly to check if roots are forming. He understands that growth takes time. He continues to water, to weed, to protect the young sprout from harsh weather. But he patiently allows nature to take its course. He knows that trying to force the growth would only harm the plant. He trusts in the inherent wisdom of the seed and the processes of nature. Eventually, with consistent care and unwavering patience, the tiny seed grows into a strong, mature plant, bearing abundant fruit. This story powerfully illustrates our own journey. We often plant seeds of intention in our lives, whether it's learning a new skill, building a healthy relationship, or cultivating inner peace through meditation. When we don't see immediate results, we become impatient. We might dig up the seed, abandon the practice, criticize ourselves for lack of progress, or try to force an outcome But just like the plant, our own growth unfolds organically, at its own pace. Trying to rush it often leads to frustration and burnout. Practicing patience in daily life means embracing small increments, celebrate small steps forward. Don't demand perfection or instant mastery. Noticing impatience. When frustration arises, acknowledge it with mindfulness. Impatience is here. Don't judge it, just observe. Pausing before reacting. When someone irritates you, take a breath. Don't immediately snap back. Create that space to choose a response. Trusting the process. Understand that effort is key, but outcomes are not solely within your control. Do your best, and then let go of attachment to the specific result, knowing that things will unfold in their own time. Practicing self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when you fall short of your own expectations for patience. It's a challenging virtue, and mastery takes time. Cultivating patience is an active cultivation of inner strength and wisdom. It allows us to face challenges with a calm and steady heart, understanding that every difficulty, every setback, is an opportunity to deepen our resilience and insight. It teaches us to appreciate the journey itself, with all its twists and turns, rather than solely fixating on the destination. This profound ability to remain steady and enduring is intrinsically linked to our capacity for appreciation. When we cultivate patience, we become more attuned to the subtle blessings in our lives, recognizing that even the smallest things are precious. This leads us seamlessly into our exploration of long-biaton gratitude, the sweet fruit that ripened from the patient cultivation of an open heart, from the steady foundation of patience, which allows us to gracefully endure life's challenges. We now open our hearts to another profoundly transformative practice, long-biaton gratitude. In Buddhist teachings, gratitude is far more than a polite acknowledgement. It's a deep, conscious recognition of the interconnectedness of all things and a heartfelt appreciation for the myriad blessings, large and small, that sustain our existence. It's the understanding that nothing arises in isolation and that countless factors, seen and unseen, contribute to our well-being. Cultivating gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It's a powerful path to genuine happiness, resilience, and a profound sense of contentment. In our consumer-driven world, we're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we need more, we lack something, or that happiness lies in the next acquisition, achievement, or experience. This perpetual state of wanting creates a subtle but pervasive sense of dissatisfaction, a feeling that something is always missing. We focus on what we don't have, what's going wrong, or what we've lost, rather than appreciating the abundant gifts already present in our lives. This deficit mentality can trap us in a cycle of craving and unhappiness. Gratitude offers a radical shift in perspective. It invites us to deliberately turn our attention to what is already here, to acknowledge the inherent richness of our lives. Even amidst difficulties, it's about consciously choosing to see the light, even when shadows loom large. This isn't about ignoring problems or being naive. It's about expanding our field of vision to include the vast network of support, opportunities, and simple wonders that often go unnoticed. The practice of gratitude in Buddhism is deeply rooted in the understanding of interdependence. We recognize that our very existence is made possible by countless conditions and beings: the farmers who grew our food, the sun and rain that nourished the crops, the engineers who built our homes, the teachers who shared knowledge, the friends who offered support. and even the simple act of our own breath sustaining life. Every bite of food, every sip of water, every moment of shelter is a testament to this vast web of interconnectedness. When we truly perceive this, a natural sense of awe and appreciation arises. So, how can we actively cultivate this profound quality in our daily lives? One of the most popular and effective methods is keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 to 5 things you are genuinely grateful for. These don't have to be monumental events. They can be simple things: the warmth of your morning coffee, a kind word from a colleague, the beauty of a sunset, the comfort of your bed, a moment of quiet peace. The act of physically writing helps to solidify these observations in your mind and reinforces a positive focus. Over time, you'll train your brain to naturally seek out things to appreciate. Another powerful practice is mindful gratitude meditation. This involves sitting quietly and bringing to mind various aspects of your life. Start with your physical body, appreciating its health and functionality. Then move to your basic needs: food, shelter, clothing. Extend to your relationships, friends, family, even pets. Consider the opportunities you have, the skills you possess, the beauty of nature around you. As you bring each aspect to mind, allow a genuine feeling of thankfulness to well up within you. You can even silently repeat phrases like, "I am grateful for," or "thank you for." The benefits of consistently practicing gratitude are extensive and scientifically supported. Numerous studies have shown that gratitude significantly increases overall happiness and life satisfaction. It shifts our focus from scarcity to abundance, fostering a more optimistic and positive outlook. It also reduces negative emotions like envy, resentment, and frustration. When you're genuinely grateful for what you have, there's less mental space for comparison or complaint. Furthermore, gratitude has a profound impact on our physical and mental health, leading to better sleep, reduced stress, and even a stronger immune system. It significantly improves our relationships by fostering a greater appreciation for others and encouraging acts of kindness in return. When we express gratitude, it strengthens bonds and creates a positive feedback loop of goodwill. Perhaps most importantly, gratitude helps us to find meaning and purpose. Even amidst challenges, it allows us to see difficulties not just as burdens, but as opportunities for learning and growth, fostering resilience in the face of adversity. Consider the poignant story of the beggar and the precious gem. There once was a beggar who lived a life of constant complaint, always bemoaning his poverty and the cruelties of the world. He spent his days sitting by a stream, begging for alms, and clutching a small, smooth stone he had found. He held onto it tightly, finding a small comfort in its familiar shape, though he never considered its true value. One day, a jeweler passed by and, noticing the unique luster of the stone, asked the beggar if he could examine it. The beggar grudgingly handed it over. The jeweler's eyes widened in amazement. "My friend," he exclaimed, "do you know what you possess? This is a magnificent, priceless diamond. It could buy you all the riches you desire." The beggar was stunned. He had held a fortune in his hand for years, yet had lived in self-pity and deprivation, unaware of the immense treasure he already possessed. This story serves as a powerful metaphor for our own lives. We often go through our days feeling deprived, focusing on what we lack, while holding countless diamonds in our hands, our health, our relationships, the beauty of nature, the simple act of breathing, the opportunities we've been given. We fail to recognize their immense value because we are too preoccupied with what we think we should have, or what others appear to possess. Gratitude is the act of the jeweler. It illuminates the hidden treasures already present, allowing us to realize the richness of our existence and to stop living like a beggar when we are already wealthy beyond measure. Practicing gratitude means consciously noticing, actively look for things to be grateful for, even in mundane moments. Expressing thanks, don't just feel it. Articulate your gratitude to others. Write it down, or offer silent appreciation. Being grateful for challenges, see difficulties as teachers, opportunities for growth, and catalysts for resilience. Cultivating humility, recognizing that much of what we have is due to conditions beyond our individual effort. Fostering a sense of interconnectedness. Cultivating gratitude is a fundamental shift in our way of perceiving and interacting with the world. It transforms our inner state from one of dissatisfaction to one of abundance, unlocking a profound and sustainable sense of happiness. This deep appreciation for what is, including life's inherent difficulties, is what allows us to then turn our attention more courageously to the nature of Hodao suffering itself. By first recognizing our blessings, we gain the strength and perspective to face suffering not with despair, but with a clearer mind and a compassionate heart, understanding that even suffering can be a profound gateway to growth. This sets the stage for our exploration of the Four Noble Truths, beginning with the truth of suffering, from the wellspring of gratitude, which illuminates the blessings in our lives and fosters resilience. We now turn our attention directly to a truth that is often uncomfortable but utterly essential for genuine liberation: Ho, Dao, Dukkha, the universal truth of suffering. In Buddhist philosophy, dukkha is the first noble truth, not a pessimistic declaration, but a realistic and profound observation about the nature of existence. It's the foundational understanding that suffering, in its various forms, is an inherent part of human experience. And paradoxically, it is precisely by deeply acknowledging this truth that we find the path to transcend it. In our everyday language, suffering often conjures images of intense physical pain or profound emotional anguish. While these are certainly forms of dukkha, the Buddhist understanding is far more expansive and nuanced. Dukkha encompasses not only overt pain, but also a pervasive sense of dissatisfaction, unease, impermanence, and the inherent imperfection of all conditioned phenomena. It's the underlying stress that comes from things not being quite right, from wanting things to be other than they are. The Buddha identified several categories of dukkha, 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 the suffering of pain. This is the most obvious form of suffering: physical pain, illness, injury, old age, death, and mental anguish like grief, sorrow, distress, and despair. These are the undeniable hardships that all beings experience. Viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change, impermanence. This refers to the suffering that arises from the impermanence of pleasant experiences. Even the greatest joys, pleasures, and successes are transient. When they pass, as they inevitably will, a subtle or sometimes overt sense of loss, disappointment, or sadness arises. It's the anxiety of knowing a good thing won't last, or the pain when it finally ends. Sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned existence. This is the deepest and most subtle form of dukkha. It refers to the inherent unsatisfactoriness of all conditioned phenomena, everything that is put together or composed of parts. Because all conditioned things are impermanent, interdependent, and lack an inherent, enduring self. They are inherently incapable of providing lasting satisfaction or ultimate security. Our very existence, composed of the five aggregates form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, is in this sense dukkha, because these aggregates are constantly changing and cannot be clung to as a permanent source of happiness. It's the fundamental unease that underlies all experience until we truly awaken to its nature. Why is it so crucial to acknowledge suffering? Because in Buddhist philosophy, suffering is not merely a problem to be avoided, but a profound catalyst for awakening. It is the initial spark that ignites our spiritual journey. If we never experience discontent, if everything were perfectly satisfying, we would have no motivation to seek a deeper truth or to change our patterns of behavior. It is the sting of disappointment, the ache of loss, the gnawing anxiety, or the persistent feeling of emptiness that often pushes us to look beyond superficial solutions and to inquire into the fundamental nature of our existence. When we confront suffering with mindfulness and wisdom, instead of denying it or trying to escape it, we begin to unravel its roots. We stop blaming external circumstances or other people, and we start to look inward at our own responses, our own clinging, our own fundamental misunderstanding of reality. This isn't about wallowing in pain. It's about courageously facing it with open eyes and a clear mind. It's like a doctor diagnosing a disease. The diagnosis is painful, but it's the necessary first step towards finding a cure. The Buddha's own life perfectly exemplifies this profound role of suffering. Born as Prince Siddhartha Gautama, he lived a life of immense luxury and privilege. Shielded from the harsh realities of the world, he experienced no overt physical suffering, no material lack. Yet, his story tells us that despite this abundance, a deep, subtle sankhara dukkha, a sense of unease or incompleteness, must have been present. It was only when he encountered the four sights, an old man, a sick person, a dead body, and eventually a renunciant monk, that he truly grasped the universal nature of suffering. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are unavoidable. These profound encounters shattered his illusions of permanent happiness and spurred him to leave his comfortable life behind. He didn't turn away from suffering, he plunged into it, seeking its source and, ultimately, a path to its cessation. His personal experience of confronting suffering directly was the ultimate motivation for his quest for enlightenment. So, how do we practically apply this understanding of suffering in our daily lives? Acknowledge suffering without judgment. When pain arises, whether physical or emotional, simply notice it. Resist the urge to label it as bad or to push it away. Pain is present. Sadness is here. This mindful acknowledgement reduces its power. Inquire into its nature. Ask yourself, what is the true nature of this suffering? Is it physical pain? Is it the pain of loss? Is it the pain of resistance to change? This inquiry helps us see beyond the surface. Recognize impermanence. Remind yourself that whatever suffering you are experiencing is temporary. It will change. This perspective fosters patience and resilience. Cultivate compassion. Direct compassion towards yourself when you are suffering. just as you would for a dear friend. Recognize that suffering is a universal human experience. By embracing suffering as a part of life's tapestry, rather than a flaw to be corrected, we transform our relationship with it. It becomes less of a tormentor and more of a teacher, revealing deeper truths about ourselves and the world. It pushes us to look beyond fleeting pleasures and to seek a more profound, lasting peace. This fearless acknowledgement of suffering, the first noble truth, naturally leads us to the second noble truth top, ko samudaya, the origin of suffering. For once we know suffering exists, our next inquiry must be, why does it exist? What is its cause? This exploration will guide us to understand the roots of our dissatisfaction, primarily the pervasive force of craving and attachment, paving the way for eventual liberation. Having bravely acknowledged Kodao Dukkha as an undeniable aspect of existence, we naturally move to the second noble truth tup, Ho Samudaya, the origin of suffering. This truth asserts that suffering is not random or without cause. It arises from a specific, identifiable root, and that root, the Buddha taught, is the Maitanya, craving, désir, or attachment. This isn't a moral judgment, but a precise diagnosis of the fundamental driver behind our persistent dissatisfaction and unease. In our modern lives, we're constantly encouraged to desire more, a better job, a bigger house, the latest gadget, a perfect relationship, more followers, more validation. We are taught that these external acquisitions or achievements will bring us lasting happiness. However, the Buddhist perspective reveals a crucial flaw in this approach. The very act of craving creates an insatiable cycle. When we get what we desire, the satisfaction is fleeting. Soon, either the pleasure fades, or a new desire arises, leading to a perpetual state of wanting. This restless yearning, this endless striving for something outside ourselves, is the engine of suffering. Tham-I craving manifests in three primary forms, often referred to as the three poisons or three roots of evil. Dukkha sensory craving, desire for pleasures. This is the craving for pleasant sensory experiences, the taste of delicious food, the sight of beautiful things, the sound of pleasing music, the touch of comfort, the scent of fragrance. It's the yearning for gratification through our five senses. While seeking pleasure isn't inherently bad, clinging to it as a source of lasting happiness leads to suffering, because all sensory pleasures are impermanent and conditional. Hurai craving for being, existence. This is the craving to exist, to continue, to become something, to assert oneself, to perpetuate one's identity. It's the desire for continuity, for growth, for success, for immortality. This can manifest as ambition, the desire for fame, or the desperate clinging to life itself. It's the impulse to constantly seek new experiences and to expand the self. Vohurai craving for non-being, annihilation. This is the craving to not exist, to be rid of something, to annihilate suffering, to escape from unpleasant experiences, or even to cease to exist entirely. It's the desire for things to end, a painful situation, an unwanted emotion, or even life itself when suffering becomes unbearable. This often underlies feelings of depression, avoidance, or self-destructive tendencies. These three forms of craving are deeply intertwined with our clinging to the idea of a permanent, separate self, as explored in non-self. If we believe there is a fixed I that needs to be satisfied, protected, or annihilated, then craving naturally arises as a mechanism to fulfill the perceived needs of that I. We chase after pleasures to make me happy. We strive for existence to preserve me, and we wish for annihilation to relieve my pain. This creates a relentless vong luanhoi samsara, not just as a cycle of rebirth, but as an endless cycle of craving, action karma, and suffering within this very life. We crave. We act on the craving. The action produces a result. That result fuels new craving. And the cycle continues, trapping us in a relentless loop of dissatisfaction. Consider the pervasive nature of social media in our modern lives as a perfect example of how craving operates. We crave validation zuk I, hurai through likes and comments, constantly checking our phones for that fleeting hit of dopamine. We crave to be seen, to be heard, to exist in the digital sphere, who I. When we don't receive the desired engagement, or when we see others appearing happier or more successful, we experience envy, anxiety, and a subtle sense of lack zuk I. Vo hu I. We might then crave to escape this feeling by logging off vo hurai, only to find ourselves drawn back in by the next craving. The initial desire for connection morphs into a compulsive cycle of seeking external validation, leading to dissatisfaction rather than genuine contentment. The crucial insight here is that craving is not the object of desire itself, but the mental state of clinging to it. It's not the food that causes suffering, but the craving for it and the aversion to its absence. It's not the relationship that causes pain, but the craving for it to be perfect or permanent, and the aversion to its change or ending. When we understand this, we realize that the problem is not with the world, but with our internal relationship to it, our incessant grasping and aversion. The Buddha's own awakening stemmed from this precise understanding, after years of extreme asceticism, which only led to more suffering. He realized that neither indulgence nor self-mortification provided the answer. It was by directly observing the arising and cessation of craving within himself, through mindfulness and deep meditation, that he saw its role as the origin of suffering. He recognized that it wasn't about eradicating desire entirely, which is impossible as long as we live, but about transcending the clinging to desire. How can we practically apply this understanding in our daily lives? Identify the craving when you experience suffering. Pause and ask yourself, what am I craving right now? What am I clinging to? Is it a particular outcome, a certain feeling, recognition? Is it the desire for something to not be happening? Observe the feeling of craving. Notice the physical and mental sensations that accompany craving, the tightness, the agitation, the restlessness, the sense of urgency. Just observe them without judgment. Recognize its impermanence. Remind yourself that craving, like all mental states, is transient. It arises, peaks, and passes away. By not feeding it, you allow it to dissipate naturally. Practice non-reactivity. Instead of immediately acting on a craving, create a mindful pause. Do you really need that object? Will this action truly bring lasting happiness? This space allows for conscious choice. Cultivate contentment. Santuti, consciously shift your focus from what you lack to what you already have. This practice, deeply linked to gratitude, is a powerful antidote to craving. The truth of the origin of suffering is not meant to be pessimistic. On the contrary, it is incredibly empowering. If suffering has a cause, then that cause can be removed, and suffering can cease. This fundamental insight opens the door to hope and the possibility of genuine liberation. By understanding why we suffer, due to our craving and clinging, we are now prepared to explore the third noble truth, Diet, Ko Nirodha, the cessation of suffering, and the ultimate state of Nibbana Nirvana. This is the promise that true peace is indeed attainable, not by escaping the world, but by transforming our relationship to our own desires. Having identified Khodao Dukkha and thoroughly explored Tapho Samudaya, its origin in craving, we now arrive at the exhilarating promise of the third noble truth, Diet Ko Nirodha, the cessation of suffering. This truth asserts that because suffering arises from a cause, it is therefore possible to eliminate that cause and, consequently, to end suffering itself. This cessation of suffering is what Buddhists refer to as Nibbana Nirvana, a state of profound peace, liberation, and ultimate happiness, not as a heavenly realm to be attained after death, but as a deeply transformative state of mind accessible in this very life. Nirvana is one of the most sublime, yet often misunderstood concepts in Buddhism. It is not an extinction of existence, a void, or merely a pleasant feeling. Instead, it is the extinction of greed, hatred, and delusion, the very roots of suffering. It is the complete unbinding from craving and clinging, leading to an unshakable inner peace that is beyond the reach of external circumstances. When these defilements are extinguished, the mind becomes clear, tranquille, and liberated. It's like putting out a fire. The fire suffering ceases because its fuel craving has been removed. The Buddha described nirvana as the unconditioned or the unborn, unoriginated, unmade, uncompounded, unlike all conditioned phenomena, which are impermanent and subject to change and suffering. Nirvana is beyond these limitations. It is the ultimate reality, a state of perfect stillness and freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Samsara, not in the sense of physical annihilation, but in the sense of psychological liberation from the forces that perpetuate endless rounds of suffering. There are often two aspects or types of nirvana described here: Nibbana Nirvana, with remainder, residual existence. This is the state achieved by an enlightened being, an arhat or Buddha, while still alive. Dwelling in the physical body, the defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion have been completely eradicated, and the mind is perfectly liberated. However, the physical body and its associated sensations, the remainder of the aggregates, still exist until the natural death of the body. The enlightened being experiences physical sensations, but they do not suffer from them in the same way. As there is no clinging or aversion, they live with profound peace and equanimity, interacting with the world without generating new karma or new suffering. Vodhu Nibbana Nirvana, without remainder, complete extinction. This refers to the passing away of an enlightened being who has attained nirvana during their lifetime. At the death of the physical body, there is no further arising of the five aggregates, no further rebirth into conditioned existence. This is the ultimate cessation of suffering, the complete and final liberation from samsara. The life of a person who has genuinely attained some degree of nirvana, even at the with remainder stage, is characterized by profound shifts, freedom from craving and aversion. They are no longer driven by insatiable desires or crippled by intense dislikes. They engage with life, but without the clinging that causes suffering. Profound inner peace. Their minds are unshakable. Calm amidst turmoil. They experience joy without attachment and observe discomfort without distress. Boundless compassion and wisdom with the eradication of ego and delusion. Their inherent capacity for love, empathy, and clear insight shines forth effortlessly. Spontaneous right action. Their actions naturally align with ethical principles and bring benefit to themselves and others. Free from self-serving motives. Nirvana is not something to be created, but something to be realized. It is not a place you go, but a state of being you uncover by removing the veils of ignorance and craving. It's like uncovering a brilliant diamond that was always there, merely covered by layers of mud. The process is one of letting go, purification, and awakening. Consider the metaphor of a patient cured of a chronic disease. Imagine someone who has suffered for years from a debilitating, painful illness. They have tried countless remedies, endured sleepless nights, and experienced constant discomfort. Their life revolves around managing this illness. Finally, after a long journey, they discover the root cause of their disease, and a cure is found. The disease is completely eradicated. The state of being cured is not about acquiring something new, but about the cessation of something painful. The patient doesn't go somewhere else. They remain in the same world, but their experience of it is fundamentally transformed. They can now live without the constant burden of pain, without the fear of relapse, without the limitations the illness imposed. Their energy is no longer consumed by managing symptoms, but is freed up for joy, creativity, and engagement with life. This newfound freedom is profound and liberating. Similarly, nirvana is the complete and utter eradication of the disease of suffering. Brought about by removing its cause, craving, the enlightened being still experiences the ups and downs of physical existence, heat, cold, hunger, thirst, physical sensations. But the mental anguish, the suffering that arises from clinging to these experiences or aversion to them, is gone. Their mind remains undisturbed, clear, and utterly peaceful. Practically speaking, we cultivate the conditions for the cessation of suffering by diligently working on the preceding noble truths. Acknowledging suffering, dukkha, understanding its nature helps us see the problem. Identifying the craving, samudaya, recognizing the cause, empowers us to address it. Practicing mindfulness and awakened awareness. These tools allow us to observe craving as it arises and to see through the illusion of self, embracing, letting go, consciously releasing our grip on desires, expectations, and attachments, cultivating compassion, patience, and gratitude. These positive qualities naturally diminish the power of greed, hatred, and delusion. Every moment, we choose mindfulness over distraction, acceptance over resistance, compassion over anger, and letting go over clinging. We are moving closer to the experience of nirodha, the cessation of suffering. We are chipping away at the causes of our distress, gradually unveiling the innate peace and wisdom that lie within. The promise of the cessation of suffering is the ultimate motivation for the Buddhist path. It's not a vague hope, but a demonstrable reality. It confirms that liberation is truly possible, that we are not condemned to an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. This understanding naturally leads us to the fourth noble truth, Dalho Magga, the path to the cessation of suffering. Having seen the suffering and its cause, and having glimpsed the possibility of its end, we are now ready to embark on the practical steps that lead us directly to that liberation, the timeless and profound wisdom of the Eightfold Path. This is the actionable roadmap that guides us towards true peace and genuine happiness. Having journeyed through the acknowledgement of Kodao Dukkha, suffering, understanding Tapho Samudaya, its origin in craving, and glimpsing the profound possibility of Dietko Nirodha, its cessation in nirvana, we now arrive at the culminating and most practical of the Four Noble Truths, Darko Magga, the path to the cessation of suffering. This is the actionable blueprint, the comprehensive guide that lays out exactly how to move from a state of suffering to one of liberation and lasting peace. This path is known as the Bat Chan Daro, Noble Eightfold Path, and it is the very heart of Buddhist practice, offering a holistic framework for ethical conduct, mental discipline, and the development of wisdom. The Noble Eightfold Path is not a series of linear steps to be completed one after the other, but rather 8 interconnected elements that are to be developed simultaneously and continuously, each supporting and reinforcing the others. They are like spokes on a wheel, all working in harmony to allow the wheel of transformation to turn smoothly. These 8 elements are divided into 3 essential categories: wisdom, panna, ethical conduct, sila, and mental discipline, samadhi. Wisdom, panna. These elements guide our understanding and perspective. Changkyen Samyak Drishti, right view, understanding. This is the foundational element, the correct understanding of reality as taught by the Buddha. It's not about blind faith, but a deep, experiential comprehension of the Four Noble Truths, the law of karma, action and consequence, and the principles of impermanence, anicca, and non-self, anatta. It's seeing things as they truly are, free from the distortions of ignorance, craving, and aversion. Right view provides the accurate map for our journey. Without it, we are likely to wander aimlessly or in the wrong direction. It is the initial insight that motivates the entire path. Chan Tu Du, Samyak Sakalpa, right intention, thought. This refers to our mental and emotional outlook, the quality of our thoughts and aspirations. It involves cultivating intentions free from greed, hatred, and ill will, and instead fostering thoughts of renunciation, letting go of craving, goodwill metta, loving kindness, and non-harming karuna, compassion. Right intention purifies the mind's inner landscape, ensuring our actions stem from wholesome roots. It's the architect designing the blueprint of our inner life. Ethical conduct, sila. These elements guide our actions and speech. Chan Inger Samyak Vak, right speech. This is about cultivating speech that is truthful, wholesome, beneficial, and unifying. It involves abstaining from false speech, lying, divisive speech, slander, harsh speech, abusive language, and idle chatter, gossiping, or meaningless talk. Instead, right speech promotes words that are timely, factual, gentle, meaningful, and kind. Our words have immense power to create harmony or discord, and this element focuses on using that power wisely. Changyip Samyak Kamanta, right action. This refers to our physical actions, ensuring they are ethical and harmless. It involves abstaining from taking life, harming living beings, taking what is not given, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Instead, right action encourages compassionate and ethical behavior, that respects the well-being and rights of others. It is about living a life of integrity, minimizing harm, and maximizing benefit. Chainmang Samyak, Ayiva, right livelihood. This element concerns how we earn our living. It means engaging in professions that do not cause harm to others or to the environment. Traditionally, this includes avoiding trades like dealing in weapons, living beings, slavery, prostitution, meat, intoxicants, or poison. In modern terms, it extends to avoiding industries that exploit, deceive, or destroy. Right livelihood ensures that our means of sustenance aligns with our ethical values and contributes to a just and peaceful society. Mental discipline, samadhi. These elements guide our mental development and concentration. Chan Tin Tun, Samyak Vyayama, right effort. This is the sustained and energetic exertion of will to cultivate wholesome states of mind and prevent unwholesome ones. It involves 4 aspects preventing unwholesome states from arising: abandoning unwholesome states that have arisen, cultivating wholesome states that have not yet arisen, and maintaining wholesome states that have arisen. Right effort is the continuous internal work of refining our mental habits, like a gardener diligently tending to their garden, weeding out unwanted plants and nurturing beneficial ones. Chengniam Samyak Smriti, right mindfulness. As we've explored, this is the continuous awareness and attention to the present moment. Without judgment, it involves observing the body, feelings, mind, and mental phenomena as they arise and pass away. Without clinging or aversion, right mindfulness is the continuous cultivation of presence, providing the clear mirror through which we can perceive reality as it is, without distortion. Chandirn, Samyak Samadhi, right concentration. This refers to the development of focused, unwavering attention and deep meditative absorption. Through consistent practice of mindfulness, the mind becomes calm, stable, and deeply concentrated, leading to states of profound mental clarity and tranquility jhanas. Right concentration allows the mind to penetrate deeper into the nature of reality, facilitating the development of wisdom and ultimately leading to liberation. The Noble Eightfold Path is not a rigid set of rules, but a dynamic, interdependent system for inner cultivation. Each element supports the others. For example, right view provides the understanding that motivates right effort. Right speech and action purify our conduct, making it easier to practice right mindfulness. Right mindfulness, in turn, strengthens right concentration, which then deepens right view. It's a spiral of growth, with each element reinforcing the others on the path to liberation. Consider the analogy of a skilled artisan building a magnificent house. To build a truly strong, beautiful, and functional house, the artisan doesn't just focus on one aspect. They need a clear blueprint, right view, understanding the design, materials, and structural integrity. A strong intention to build well, right intention, dedication to quality and purpose, careful communication with the team, right speech clear, precise instructions, skillful use of tools and materials, right action, performing each task with precision and integrity, ethical sourcing of materials, right livelihood, ensuring the components are acquired honestly, consistent effort and problem solving, right effort diligently working and overcoming challenges, focused attention on each detail, right mindfulness, ensuring accuracy and quality at every step, sustained concentration on the task, right concentration, staying immersed in the work without distraction. If any one of these elements is weak, the entire structure is compromised. Similarly, on the Noble Eightfold Path, neglecting any one aspect weakens the entire journey towards awakening. The house built with such care and comprehensive skill will be a place of enduring refuge and peace. The Noble Eightfold Path is incredibly empowering because it offers a clear, actionable methodology for transforming our lives. It tells us that suffering is not inevitable, but a condition that can be transcended through diligent practice. It's not about waiting for a divine intervention or intellectualizing abstract concepts. It's about committing to a way of living that systematically purifies the mind and leads to profound insight and lasting happiness. Each step on this path is a step towards greater freedom, wisdom, and compassion. This comprehensive path begins with Chang Kian right view, as it sets the correct direction and understanding for all subsequent efforts. Without a clear and accurate understanding of reality, our efforts might be misguided. Therefore, delving deeper into right view is the logical next step, ensuring that our foundation for practice is solid and aligned with the ultimate goal of liberation. It is the compass that guides all our subsequent steps, leading us towards clarity and awakening. Having laid out the comprehensive framework of the Noble Eightfold Path as the practical roadmap to end suffering, we now zoom in on its very first and most foundational element, Chang Kian, Samyak Drishti, or right view. In the profound architecture of Buddhist wisdom, right view is not merely an opinion or a belief system. It is the correct understanding of reality as it truly is, unclouded by ignorance, delusion, or personal biases. It's the accurate compass that sets our direction, ensuring that all subsequent efforts on the path are skillful and lead towards genuine liberation. Without right view, our spiritual journey can easily become a meandering walk in the dark, full of missteps and frustrating detours. Imagine setting out on a long journey across unfamiliar terrain. If your map is flawed or your compass is broken, no matter how diligently you walk or how much effort you expend, you might end up lost, far from your intended destination. Right view is precisely this reliable map and accurate compass for the journey of awakening. It provides the intellectual and experiential framework through which we interpret our experiences, understand suffering, and discern the path to freedom. So, what exactly constitutes right view? At its core, right view is the understanding and acceptance of the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering dukkha, understanding that life, by its very nature, involve dissatisfaction, impermanence, and inherent unease. It's not about being pessimistic, but realistic. The truth of the origin of suffering samudaya, knowing that this suffering arises from craving thamai, the insatiable desire for things to be other than they are. The truth of the cessation of suffering nirodha, realizing that suffering can indeed be ended by eradicating craving, leading to the peace of nirvana. The truth of the path to the cessation of suffering magga, comprehending that this cessation is achieved through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path itself, beyond the Four Noble Truths. Right view also encompasses a clear understanding of other fundamental Buddhist principles, karma, the law of action and consequence. Understanding that every volitional thought, word, and deed has ethical implications, and will lead to corresponding results. Right view recognizes that we are the heirs of our actions, and that wholesome actions lead to wholesome results, while unwholesome actions lead to unwholesome results. This fosters personal responsibility and encourages ethical conduct, impermanence, anicca, the fundamental truth that all conditioned phenomena, everything that arises, exists, and passes away, is constantly changing. There is no permanence in anything we cling to. Right view embraces this fluidity, reducing the pain of loss and the struggle to hold on to the ephemeral, non-self anatta, the profound realization that there is no fixed, independent, enduring self or soul that persists unchangingly. What we perceive as self is a collection of constantly changing physical and mental processes. Right view liberates us from the deep-seated illusion of ego, which is a primary source of suffering and self-centeredness. The difference between right view and wrong view takin is crucial. Wrong view is any understanding that contradicts these fundamental truths and leads to further suffering. For example, believing that our actions have no consequences, that material possessions will bring lasting happiness, or that there is a permanent self to be endlessly gratified. These are all forms of wrong view that perpetuate the cycle of dukkha. Right view is rooted in reality and leads to liberation. Wrong view is rooted in delusion and perpetuates bondage. Right view is not something to be intellectually grasped and then dismissed. It's something to be cultivated and deepened through study, reflection, and personal experience. Initially, it might be a matter of intellectual conviction, accepting these truths as plausible explanations. But through consistent meditation and mindful living, these intellectual understandings transform into direct, experiential insights, becoming an undeniable knowing that permeates our entire being. It's like learning about the taste of a mango versus actually tasting it. The latter is the true understanding. The importance of right view cannot be overstated because it sets the direction for all other aspects of the path. If our view is distorted, our intentions, right intention might be misguided. Our speech and actions, right speech, right action, right livelihood might inadvertently cause harm, and our meditative efforts, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration might simply reinforce our delusions rather than liberating us. Right view is the master key that unlocks the door to genuine progress. It provides the motivation to let go of unwholesome states and to cultivate wholesome ones. Consider the powerful parable of the doctor and the poisoned arrow. A man is struck by a poisoned arrow. His friends rush to help him. But before they can remove the arrow, the man, in his delirium, insists on knowing who shot the arrow, what his caste is, what kind of wood the arrow is made of, what type of feathers are on it, and what kind of poison it is. He demands answers to all these questions before he allows the arrow to be removed. Meanwhile, the poison is rapidly spreading through his body. The Buddha used this parable to illustrate the folly of getting caught up in metaphysical speculation or intellectual debates before addressing the fundamental problem of suffering. The poisoned arrow is suffering. The doctor is the Buddha, offering the cure. The man's questions are the wrong views and endless speculative inquiries that distract from the urgent task of liberation. Right view, in this context, is the practical understanding that there is suffering, the arrow is in me. There is a cause for suffering, the arrow is poisoned. Suffering can cease, the arrow can be removed. There is a path to cease suffering. Let the doctor remove the arrow. This clear and direct understanding is what allows us to prioritize what is truly important, the eradication of suffering, and to engage in the skillful means, the Eightfold Path, to achieve that. Without this right view, we might waste precious time and energy on questions or pursuits that do not lead to liberation. Just like the man dying from the poisoned arrow while demanding irrelevant information, practicing the cultivation of right view in daily life involves deepening your understanding of the Dharma, regularly studying and reflecting on the core teachings of the Buddha through suttas, discourses, reputable books, and teachings from wise monastics or teachers, mindful reflection, continuously bringing the principles of impermanence, non-self, and the Four Noble Truths into your observations of daily life. See how they play out in your own experiences, your relationships, and the world around you. Questioning assumptions, actively challenge your own deeply held beliefs and views, especially those that lead to suffering or conflict. Be open to revising your understanding based on experience, seeking clarity when confused. Seek guidance from reliable sources or experienced practitioners. The continuous refinement of right view transforms our entire orientation towards life. It shifts us from a reactive, confused state to one of proactive, clear-sighted wisdom. It provides the unwavering compass that guides every step, ensuring that our thoughts, words, and actions are aligned with the ultimate goal of liberation. With right view as our unshakable foundation, we are then empowered to cultivate Chantu, Dai right intention, ensuring that the motivations behind our every thought and action are pure, wholesome, and aligned with the path to true freedom. This sets the internal stage for ethical conduct and mental development, with Changkin right view firmly established as our guiding compass, illuminating the true nature of reality and the path to liberation. We now turn our attention to the second vital element of the Noble Eightfold Path, Chan Tu Du, Samyak Sakalpa, or right intention. This element dives deep into the very heart of our mental processes, focusing not just on what we think, but the underlying quality and motivation of our thoughts and aspirations. It's about shaping the inner landscape of our mind, ensuring that our volitions are wholesome, pure, and aligned with the cessation of suffering. Our intentions are incredibly powerful. They are the seeds from which all our actions, both mental and physical, sprout. As the Buddha famously taught, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. Our thoughts, driven by our intentions, shape our present reality and influence our future. If our intentions are rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion, then even seemingly good actions can be tainted, and our inner world will remain agitated. Conversely, when our intentions are pure, even small acts can yield profound positive results, fostering inner peace and compassion. Right intention specifically involves cultivating three wholesome types of thought and letting go of their unwholesome counterparts. Intentions of renunciation, Nekkhamma Sakalpa, versus craving, attachment. This is the intention to release the grip of craving and attachment to sensory pleasures, possessions, and even to our own existence. It's not about self-denial or becoming ascetic, but about understanding that clinging leads to suffering, and therefore cultivating a genuine willingness to let go. This intention frees us from the constant pull of desire, leading to a profound sense of inner freedom and contentment. It's the opposite of being driven by insatiable wants. Intentions of goodwill, loving kindness, abhyapada, Sakalpa versus ill will, hatred. This is the conscious cultivation of thoughts and wishes for the well-being and happiness of all beings, including ourselves. It involves actively transforming ill will, anger, resentment, and hostility into feelings of kindness, understanding, and empathy. When we harbor ill will, it burns us from within. Right intention directs our mental energy towards reconciliation, forgiveness, and universal benevolence, creating a mind that is open and compassionate. Intentions of non-harmfulness, avihisa, sakpa versus cruelty, harmfulness. This is the intention to cause no harm to any living being, in thought, word, or deed. It extends beyond simply refraining from violence. It's about actively cultivating compassion and sensitivity towards all life. It means being mindful of the impact of our thoughts and actions, ensuring they contribute to peace and well-being rather than suffering. This intention fosters a deep respect for all forms of life and promotes a sense of interconnectedness. The significance of right intention lies in its role as the architect of our inner world. Our thoughts are constantly flowing, and many are automatic, conditioned by past experiences and ingrained habits. Right intention is the conscious effort to redirect and purify this stream of thought. It's about consciously choosing to nurture thoughts that are wholesome, beneficial, and aligned with the path to liberation, rather than passively allowing unskillful thoughts to dominate our minds. This proactive shaping of our mental landscape is crucial because our thoughts ultimately manifest as our speech and actions. The immediate benefits of cultivating right intention are tangible when our intentions are rooted in renunciation, goodwill, and non-harmfulness. We experience greater inner peace and emotional stability. The constant agitation of craving, anger, and anxiety subsides, replaced by a quiet strength and contentment. Our minds become clearer, more focused, and less prone to distraction. This purity of intention also naturally leads to more harmonious relationships, as our interactions with others are guided by genuine kindness and a wish for their well-being, rather than self-interest or hostility. Ultimately, right intention lays the groundwork for all ethical conduct and deepens our meditative practice. Consider the powerful analogy of an architect designing a house. The architect doesn't just start building randomly. They first create a detailed blueprint. This blueprint reflects their intentions for the house, what its purpose will be, its aesthetic, its functionality, how it will stand up to the elements. If the architect's intention is to build a rickety, cheap structure for quick profit, unwholesome intention, the design will be flawed, and the resulting house will be unstable and undesirable. However, if their intention is to build a durable, beautiful, and safe home that provides comfort and joy for its inhabitants' wholesome intention, then every detail of the blueprint will reflect that commitment. The quality of the blueprint directly determines the quality of the finished house. Similarly, our intentions are the blueprints of our inner and outer lives. If our intentions are rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion, then our mental house will be unstable, prone to collapse under the slightest stress, and filled with suffering. Our speech will be harsh, our actions harmful, and our minds agitated. But if our intentions are clear, pure, and aligned with renunciation, goodwill, and non-harmfulness, then our mental house becomes a sanctuary of peace, stability, and wisdom. Our speech becomes kind, our actions beneficial, and our minds calm and clear. The intention, the blueprint, precedes and shapes everything that follows. Practically, cultivating right intention in our daily lives involves mindful awareness of our motivations. Before speaking or acting, or even dwelling on a thought, pause and ask yourself, what is my intention behind this? Is it rooted in craving, aversion, or kindness? Is it for my benefit alone, or for the benefit of all? This self-inquiry, empowered by mindfulness, is crucial. Cultivating positive affirmations. Regularly engage in practices like metta-loving kindness, meditation, consciously generating thoughts of goodwill for yourself and others. Phrases like may all beings be free from suffering, may all beings be happy and peaceful, directly train the mind to cultivate wholesome intentions. Reflecting on consequences. Consider the potential outcomes of your thoughts and intentions. If you harbor resentment, what is the likely impact on your peace of mind and relationships? If you cultivate kindness, what positive ripple effects might it create? This reflection strengthens your resolve to choose wholesome intentions. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness of oneself and others is a powerful way to release ill will and cultivate goodwill. It's an active choice to let go of the burden of resentment. Right intention is not about intellectual agreement. It's about deeply transforming the very fabric of our mental consciousness. It's the continuous process of purifying the wellspring of our thoughts, ensuring that what flows forth is clear, pure, and life-affirming. When our intentions are wholesome, our actions naturally follow suit. This foundational purification of our inner world, driven by right intention, naturally prepares us for the next crucial step on the Noble Eightfold Path, Chanu right speech. For once, our thoughts and intentions are aligned with wisdom and compassion, our words will inevitably reflect that inner harmony, becoming powerful tools for peace and understanding. This seamless transition highlights the profound interconnectedness of all 8 elements, each building upon the other towards liberation. With Chan Tu Dai right intention having purified the wellspring of our thoughts, we naturally turn to the next vital element of the Noble Eightfold Path, Chan Inga Samyak Vak, or right speech. Our words are powerful. They can build bridges or burn them, heal wounds or inflict new ones, inspire joy or sow seeds of discord. In a world often plagued by miscommunication, harsh rhetoric, and the rapid spread of misinformation, the practice of right speech is more crucial than ever. It's about harnessing the immense power of our verbal communication to create harmony, understanding, and peace, both in our personal lives and in the wider community. The Buddha laid out 4 specific guidelines for cultivating right speech, each designed to foster clarity, compassion, and truthfulness. Abstaining from false speech, musavada. This is more than just refraining from outright lying. It extends to exaggerations, misleading statements, breaking promises, or saying something we know to be untrue. Even in jest, right speech emphasizes speaking only what is factual, honest, and verifiable. It builds trust and integrity in our relationships. In a world where fake news and deceptive advertising are rampant, cultivating truthfulness in our own speech is a revolutionary act. Abstaining from divisive speech, pasunavaka. This refers to speech that creates discord, breaks friendships, or causes animosity between people. It includes gossiping, backbiting, spreading rumors, or saying things behind someone's back that we wouldn't say to their face. Divisive speech stems from a desire to elevate oneself by pulling others down, or from clinging to a sense of us versus verse. Them. Right speech fosters unity and harmony, using words to bring people together rather than tear them apart. Abstaining from harsh speech Farusavaka. This encompasses words that are rude, abusive, insulting, angry, or unkind. It's speech delivered with ill will, intended to hurt, demean, or provoke. Harsh speech can inflict deep emotional wounds, often far more lasting than physical injuries. Right speech encourages gentle, pleasant, polite, and respectful language. Even when expressing disagreement or criticism, it focuses on delivering messages constructively without resorting to aggression. Abstaining from idle chatter Samphapalapa. This refers to meaningless talk, frivolous conversation that lacks purpose or benefit, or excessive chatter that wastes time and energy. While light conversation has its place, idle chatter can distract us from what's important, perpetuate superficiality, and prevent meaningful engagement. Right speech encourages words that are timely, purposeful, meaningful, and contribute to understanding or well-being. It values silence as much as speech. The essence of right speech lies in its intention and its impact. Before we speak, the practice invites us to pause and consider, is it true, aligned with truthfulness? Is it kind, aligned with compassion? Is it beneficial? Does it serve a wholesome purpose? Is it timely? Is this the right moment and context to speak? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then silence or a revised statement might be the more skillful choice. This pause creates a critical gap between impulse and utterance, allowing wisdom and compassion to guide our words. The benefits of cultivating right speech are immense. When our words are truthful, kind, unifying, and purposeful, they become powerful tools for positive change. Firstly, it fosters deeper trust and authenticity in relationships. People know they can rely on our words, and they feel safe being open with us. This builds stronger, more meaningful connections. Secondly, it contributes to our inner peace and mental clarity. When we are not burdened by lies, resentments, or the chaotic energy of idle chatter, our minds become calmer and more settled. We live with greater integrity, which brings a profound sense of self-respect. Thirdly, right speech allows us to resolve conflicts more effectively. Instead of escalating disagreements with harsh or divisive words, we can approach them with a genuine intention to understand and find common ground. It encourages constructive dialogue rather than destructive arguments. Finally, and crucially, right speech directly influences our karma. Wholesome speech leads to wholesome results, creating positive ripples in our lives and the lives of others. It shapes a reality where communication is clear, respectful, and conducive to well-being. Consider the simple yet profound analogy of a farmer scattering seeds. A farmer knows that the quality of the seeds they sow directly determines the nature of the harvest. If they sow seeds of weeds or thorns, they will reap a difficult and unproductive yield. If they sow seeds of nutritious crops and beautiful flowers, they will reap abundance and beauty. Our words are precisely like these seeds. Every time we speak, we are scattering seeds into the world and into the minds of others, and crucially, into the field of our own consciousness. False speech is like scattering seeds of deceit and confusion. What will grow from that distrust, misunderstanding, and a tangled web of lies? Divisive speech is like scattering seeds of division and conflict. What will grow? Estrangement, arguments, and broken relationships. Harsh speech is like scattering seeds of bitterness and pain. What will grow? Resentment, fear, and emotional wounds. Idle chatter is like scattering seeds of triviality and distraction. What will grow? Superficiality, wasted time, and a cluttered mind. Conversely, truthful, kind, unifying, and meaningful speech is like scattering seeds of fertile ground. What will grow from that trust? Harmony, healing, wisdom, and genuine connection. Just as the farmer is mindful of every seed they sow, the practitioner of right speech is mindful of every word they utter, understanding its potential impact. The harvest we reap in our relationships and in our inner peace is a direct consequence of the seeds we plant with our words. Practicing right speech requires constant awareness and self-reflection, especially in our highly connected digital age where words can be sent globally in an instant. It means pausing before speaking. Take a moment to check your intention and the content of your words. Listening more than speaking. Develop the practice of deep listening to truly understand others, which often reduces the need for unnecessary speech. Practicing empathy. Before speaking, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. How might your words be received? Speaking from a place of compassion, even when needing to deliver difficult truths. Do so with kindness and a wish to help, rather than to harm. Cultivating silence, recognizing the value of silence as a space for reflection and a way to avoid unwholesome speech. Right speech is a powerful discipline that transforms not only our external interactions but also our inner world. It fosters a mind that is clear, compassionate, and aligned with truth. When our speech becomes wholesome, it naturally supports our Chainyip right action, ensuring that our physical deeds also align with ethical principles and contribute to the well-being of all. This harmonious progression from inner purity to outward conduct is the essence of the Noble Eightfold Path, guiding us ever closer to liberation. Following the cultivation of Shan Ungur right speech, which purifies our verbal expressions, we seamlessly transition to Chainyip Samyak Karmanta, or right action. This crucial element of the Noble Eightfold Path brings our ethical intentions and wholesome speech into the realm of physical conduct, ensuring that our bodily actions are harmonious, non-harmful, and conducive to peace and well-being for ourselves and others. In essence, right action is about living with integrity, embodying compassion and wisdom in every physical deed. Our actions have profound consequences. They shape our character, influence our relationships, and contribute to the moral fabric of society. Just as a single stone dropped into a pond creates ripples that spread outwards, every action we perform creates effects that extend far beyond the immediate moment. Right action, therefore, isn't just about following rules. It's about a deep understanding of cause and effect karma and a conscious commitment to behave in ways that generate positive outcomes and minimize suffering, the Buddha primarily outlined 3 core principles for right action, which correspond to the ethical guidelines known as the 5 precepts. When combined with right speech and right livelihood, abstaining from taking life, panatipata veramani, this is the commitment to avoid intentionally harming or killing any living being, human or animal. It's the bedrock of compassion and respect for life. This principle extends beyond outright violence to encompass avoiding actions that lead to harm, such as reckless driving, or even supporting industries that cause widespread suffering. Right action cultivates a deep reverence for all forms of life, recognizing our interconnectedness. It encourages acts of kindness, protection, and preservation of life, abstaining from taking what is not given adinadana veramani. This means refraining from stealing, cheating, or any form of dishonesty in acquiring possessions. It's about respecting the property and resources of others, ensuring that all our acquisitions are made through honest and ethical means. This principle fosters trust, fairness, and economic justice. Right action promotes generosity, honesty, and fair dealing in all transactions. Abstaining from sexual misconduct kamisu mikchācara veramani. This principle emphasizes responsible and respectful sexual conduct. It means avoiding actions that cause harm to oneself or others through sexual exploitation, adultery, or any sexual activity that is coercive, abusive, or breaks commitments made to partners. It promotes respect for boundaries, consent, and the sanctity of relationships. Right action fosters healthy, loving, and non-exploitative intimate connections. The power of right action lies in its capacity to transform our immediate environment and shape our inner karma. When our actions are rooted in non-harming, generosity, and respect, we create a positive atmosphere around us. Our relationships become more harmonious, built on trust and mutual respect. We contribute to a safer, more compassionate world. Internally, acting ethically brings a profound sense of peace, integrity, and self-respect. There's no gnawing guilt or fear of consequences when our actions are pure. This inner calm is essential for deeper meditation and spiritual insight. Furthermore, right action directly influences the law of karma. Wholesome actions, driven by wholesome intentions, plant seeds for positive future experiences, both in this life and beyond. Conversely, unwholesome actions, even if seemingly minor, create unwholesome karmic imprints that can ripen into future suffering. Right action is therefore not just about external morality, but about consciously shaping our destiny by choosing to create beneficial causes. Consider the vivid analogy of a master gardener tending their plants. A gardener's success is not determined by their good intentions or eloquent speeches about healthy plants. It's determined by their actions. They don't pull up the young seedlings, abstain from taking life. They don't take soil or tools from a neighbor without permission, abstain from taking what is not given. They don't introduce harmful pests or diseases into the garden, abstain from sexual misconduct. In the broader sense of not harming the delicate ecosystem. Instead, they nurture the plants by providing water, sunlight, and proper nutrients. They protect them from weeds and pests. They cultivate the soil to ensure it's fertile. The health and vibrancy of the garden are a direct result of the gardener's diligent and skillful actions. If the gardener acts carelessly, greedily, or with neglect, the garden will wither and die. If they act with dedication, wisdom, and care, the garden will flourish, yielding beautiful flowers and abundant fruit. Similarly, our lives are like a garden, and our physical actions are the direct deeds of cultivation. If we engage in unwholesome actions, our inner garden, our mind and experience becomes a barren, thorny, and unpeaceful place. Our relationships become toxic, and we generate suffering for ourselves and others. But when we consistently practice right action, nurturing kindness, honesty, and respect, we cultivate an inner sanctuary of peace and a fertile ground for genuine happiness to blossom. The fruits of this garden are joy, harmony, and liberation. Practicing right action in our daily lives requires continuous mindfulness and ethical reflection, mindful awareness of our deeds. Before performing any physical action, pause and consider its potential impact. Ask, is this action going to cause harm to myself or others? Is it honest and respectful? Does it align with compassion? Applying the 5 precepts, consider these as guiding principles, not rigid rules. Regularly reflect on how you are upholding these principles in your daily conduct. When you falter, acknowledge it with self-compassion and resolve to do better next time. Practicing generosity dana, actively engage in acts of giving, of time, resources, attention, or kindness. Generosity is the antidote to grasping and cultivates a mindset of abundance. Taking responsibility, acknowledge the consequences of your actions, both positive and negative. Learn from mistakes and make amends where necessary. Choosing a wholesome lifestyle, consciously make choices that support ethical living, such as opting for cruelty-free products, supporting ethical businesses, and minimizing your environmental footprint. Right action is the embodiment of our deepest ethical convictions. It translates our internal wisdom and wholesome intentions into tangible reality, shaping a life that is truly meaningful and beneficial. When our actions are grounded in ethics, they naturally pave the way for Chanmang right livelihood, ensuring that the very means by which we sustain ourselves are also aligned with compassion and non-harming. This progression underscores the comprehensive and integrated nature of the Noble Eightfold Path, where each element builds upon the other, guiding us steadily towards a life of profound integrity and freedom. Having diligently cultivated Changyip right action, ensuring our physical deeds align with principles of non-harm and integrity, we now move to Chanmang Samyak, Aiva, or right livelihood. This crucial element of the Noble Eightfold Path extends our ethical commitment to the very means by which we sustain ourselves and our families. It's about ensuring that our profession, our work, and our way of earning a living do not cause harm to ourselves or to others, but instead contribute to the well-being and harmony of the world. In essence, right livelihood is about living a life of profound ethical consistency, where our values are reflected not just in our spiritual practice, but in our everyday work. In today's complex global economy, the concept of right livelihood takes on particular significance. Many industries, while seemingly productive, can contribute to exploitation, environmental degradation, or social injustice. The pursuit of wealth and material success often overshadows ethical considerations, leading individuals to engage in work that might compromise their values or inflict suffering. Directly or indirectly, the Buddha recognized that if our means of sustenance inherently creates harm, it becomes incredibly difficult to cultivate inner peace, genuine happiness, or make progress on the spiritual path. Our work occupies a significant portion of our lives. If that work is in conflict with our deepest ethical aspirations, it creates an ongoing internal dissonance, a subtle form of suffering. Traditionally, the Buddha specifically identified several types of livelihoods that are considered wrong livelihood because they inherently involve harm. Dealing in weapons. Any business that profits from manufacturing, selling, or distributing weapons, which are designed to inflict harm and take life. Dealing in living beings. This includes slavery, human trafficking, prostitution, or any trade that treats living beings as mere commodities to be bought and sold, violating their freedom and dignity. In some interpretations, this also extends to large-scale animal farming, where animals are treated cruelly or killed for profit, especially when alternatives exist. Dealing in meat. While Buddhists are not necessarily vegetarians, trading in meat, slaughtering animals, or selling their flesh is generally discouraged, as it directly involves taking life. Dealing in intoxicants. This refers to the production or sale of alcohol, drugs, or other substances that impair the mind, leading to heedlessness, addiction, and suffering for individuals and society. Dealing in poisons. Any trade involving the production or sale of poisons, which are used to harm or kill. Beyond these specific prohibitions, right livelihood encourages a broader ethical consideration. Does my work cause direct or indirect harm? Does it exploit others? Is it dishonest or deceptive? It's about generating income in a way that is honest, fair, and respectful of all sentient beings and the environment. It means choosing a profession that allows us to maintain our integrity and contribute positively to society, aligning our external actions with our internal ethical commitments. The benefits of cultivating right livelihood are immense, both personally and socially. For the individual, it brings a profound sense of inner peace and congruence. When our work aligns with our values, we experience less internal conflict, less stress, and greater self-respect. Our livelihood becomes a source of meaning and purpose. Rather than just a means to an end, it reinforces our ethical foundation, making it easier to practice right action and right speech throughout our day. Socially, right livelihood contributes to a more just, compassionate, and sustainable society. When individuals choose ethical professions, it reduces suffering, promotes fairness, and fosters trust within communities. It discourages industries that thrive on exploitation and promotes those that bring genuine benefit. It creates a ripple effect of positive impact, making the world a better place for everyone. Furthermore, a wholesome livelihood generates wholesome karma, ensuring that the fruits of our labor are beneficial, not only in this life but also in future existences. Consider the analogy of a clean, pure river supplying water to a village. Imagine a village that relies entirely on a river for its sustenance, for drinking, cooking, irrigation, and washing. If the river's source is clean and pure, the village thrives. The water nourishes the crops, keeps the people healthy, and supports a vibrant ecosystem. Life flows harmoniously. However, if the river's source becomes polluted, perhaps by an upstream factory dumping toxins, or by unskillful agricultural practices, then the entire village suffers. The water becomes undrinkable. The crops wither. People fall ill. And the ecosystem collapses. Even if the villagers try to filter the water at the village level, the fundamental problem lies at the source. Our livelihood is like the source of our river of sustenance. If we earn our living through means that are harmful, deceptive, or exploitative, a polluted source, then even if we try to live ethically in other areas, the inherent negativity of our work will taint our lives and contribute to suffering. It pollutes our mental stream, affecting our peace of mind and integrity. Our actions, thoughts, and even relationships can be subtly poisoned by the unwholesome nature of our income. But if our livelihood is based on ethical principles, honesty, and non-harming a clean and pure source, then the energy we generate to sustain ourselves is wholesome. It nourishes our inner well-being, supports our ethical development, and flows out beneficially into the world. It provides a constant reinforcement of our commitment to the path, allowing us to live with integrity and contribute positively to the collective well-being. Practicing right livelihood in our modern, complex world requires careful consideration and, at times, courage. It may not always be easy to find a perfectly pure livelihood, but the principle encourages us to strive towards the most ethical means available to us. This means self-reflection and inquiry. Regularly assess your current work. Does it align with your ethical values? Does it cause harm? Directly or indirectly, be honest with yourself. Making conscious choices. When seeking new employment or starting a business, prioritize ethical considerations alongside financial ones. Research companies and industries to ensure their practices are wholesome. Advocating for ethical practices. If you are in a position to influence your workplace, advocate for more ethical and sustainable practices. Even small changes can have a positive impact. Minimizing harm. If you find yourself in a job that has some unwholesome aspects, consider how you can minimize harm within your role, or actively look for opportunities to transition to a more wholesome livelihood. Living simply. Reducing our needs and desires related to renunciation from right intention can lessen the pressure to engage in unwholesome livelihoods just to maintain a certain lifestyle. Right livelihood is a powerful practice of integrating our spiritual aspirations into the very fabric of our material lives. It reminds us that every aspect of our existence offers an opportunity for ethical development and wholesome action. When our means of sustenance are pure, we create a stable and supportive foundation for continued growth on the path. This consistent and sustained effort in our daily lives naturally leads us to the next element, Chan Tin Tun, right effort. For it is through continuous, wholesome exertion that we maintain and strengthen our ethical foundation, ensuring our journey on the Noble Eightfold Path is unwavering and effective. Having diligently cultivated Chan Mang right livelihood, aligning our means of sustenance with ethical integrity, we arrive at the final element within the mental discipline Samadhi section of the Noble Eightfold Path, Chan Tin Tun, Samyak Vyayama, or right effort. This isn't merely about working hard, it's about applying conscious, wholesome energy and sustained perseverance in our spiritual development. It's the unwavering momentum that fuels our journey, ensuring that we skillfully cultivate beneficial states of mind and prevent unwholesome ones from taking root or proliferating. Without right effort, our good intentions might falter, and our practices might become sporadic, leading to stagnation rather than liberation. In a world filled with distractions, procrastination, and the temptation to seek immediate comfort. Sustained effort often feels challenging. We might start a new habit with enthusiasm, only to see it wane. We might understand the benefits of mindfulness, but struggle to maintain consistent practice. Right effort addresses this directly, providing a framework for how to apply our energy wisely and effectively to cultivate inner peace and wisdom. It recognizes that spiritual growth is not passive. It requires deliberate, continuous engagement. The Buddha outlined 4 specific aspects of right effort, often called the 4 great efforts to prevent unwholesome states from arising. This is the proactive effort to prevent negative thoughts, emotions like anger, greed, envy, and unskillful habits from even appearing in our minds. It involves being mindful of our mental inputs, what we consume through our senses, the company we keep, the media we engage with, and consciously choosing environments and activities that support wholesome states. It's like building a fence around a garden to keep pests out, to abandon unwholesome states that have arisen. This is the effort to skillfully let go of or eradicate negative thoughts, emotions, or unskillful habits that have already manifested. This requires mindfulness to recognize them as they appear, and then applying techniques like labeling, questioning, or redirecting attention, or using antidotes like compassion for hatred, or contentment for greed. It's like diligently weeding a garden to remove unwanted growth, to cultivate wholesome states that have not yet arisen. This is the intentional effort to develop positive qualities and beneficial mental states that we wish to embody. This includes cultivating qualities like loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity, generosity, patience, and wisdom. It's about actively planting good seeds. It's like sowing nutritious crops and beautiful flowers in the garden to maintain wholesome states that have arisen. This is the sustained effort to nurture and strengthen positive qualities and beneficial mental states once they have been established. It ensures that our practices are consistent, our insights deepen, and our wholesome habits become firmly ingrained. It's like consistently watering, fertilizing, and caring for the plants we've cultivated. Right effort is not about striving relentlessly or pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion. It's about wise and balanced exertion. It's the effort that comes from understanding, not from self-inflicted pressure. It's often described as tuning a stringed instrument if the string is too loose. It won't produce a clear note. If it's too tight, it will snap. Similarly, our effort must be balanced, neither too lax nor too strenuous. It's a continuous process of adjusting and refining our energy application. The benefits of consistently applying right effort are profound. Firstly, it brings a tremendous sense of inner mastery and self-efficacy. We realize that we have the power to shape our minds and our experiences, rather than being passively driven by external forces or internal conditioning. This builds confidence and resilience. Secondly, it leads to consistent progress on the spiritual path. By diligently cultivating wholesome states and abandoning unwholesome ones, we steadily purify our minds and deepen our insights, moving closer to liberation. Thirdly, right effort directly enhances our mental and emotional well-being. When we actively work to reduce negative thought patterns and cultivate positive ones, our minds become calmer, more peaceful, and more joyful. This reduces stress, anxiety, and the pervasive sense of dissatisfaction. Finally, It ensures that our practices are integrated into our daily lives, moving beyond mere intellectual understanding to embodied wisdom. It's the persistent push that turns theory into lived experience. Consider the classic analogy of the mountain climber. A mountain climber's success depends not just on wanting to reach the summit, right intention, or having a map, right view. It demands right effort, preventing falls, prevent unwholesome. The climber diligently checks their equipment, plans their route carefully, and avoids risky maneuvers. They proactively prevent accidents, overcoming obstacles, abandon unwholesome when they encounter a difficult rock face or a treacherous crevice. They don't give up. They apply their strength and skill to find a way past it, abandoning the obstacle by skillfully navigating it. Building strength and endurance, cultivate wholesome before the climb. They train physically and mentally, building the necessary strength, stamina, and resilience that they don't yet possess, maintaining pace and focus, maintain wholesome during the climb. They consistently maintain a steady pace, focus on each step, and continue to ascend. Even when tired, they don't sprint and then collapse, nor do they become lazy. They maintain their effort throughout the long ascent. If the climber lacks any of these aspects of effort, if they are careless, give up easily, don't train, or lose focus, they are unlikely to reach the summit safely or at all. The entire journey is sustained by this continuous, skillful application of effort. Similarly, our spiritual journey is like climbing a mountain. Suffering is the base of the mountain, and liberation, nirvana, is the summit. Right effort is the tireless, intelligent energy we apply to make the ascent. It's what stops us from getting lost in distractions at the base, from giving up halfway, or from stagnating on a plateau. It ensures that our progress is steady and unwavering. Practicing right effort in daily life means establishing a routine commit to a consistent daily practice. Whether it's a few minutes of mindful breathing, a short period of gratitude reflection, or a conscious effort to speak kindly, consistency, even in small doses, builds momentum. Mindful awareness of mental states. Continuously monitor your thoughts and emotions. When you notice unwholesome states arising, e.g., irritation, judgment, craving, consciously apply an antidote, e.g., compassion, acceptance, letting go, celebrating small wins. Acknowledge and appreciate your efforts and progress, no matter how small. This positive reinforcement encourages continued exertion, learning from setbacks. When you falter or old habits resurface, approach it with self-compassion, not self-criticism. Learn from the experience and recommit to the effort. Seeking support, connect with a community sangha or a teacher who can offer encouragement, guidance, and accountability. Pacing yourself, avoid burnout by balancing effort with rest. Recognize when you need to step back, recenter, and recharge. Right effort is the dynamic principle that breathes life into the entire Noble Eightfold Path. It is the unwavering commitment to our spiritual growth, empowering us to transform our inner world and align with the principles of wisdom, ethics, and mental discipline. It ensures that our journey is not merely theoretical but a lived reality, propelling us steadily towards the profound peace and clarity of awakening. This sustained, wholesome exertion now brings us to the final element of the Noble Eightfold Path, Changding right concentration, where all our efforts culminate in deep mental stability and profound insight, the very ground for true liberation. We've journeyed together through the profound wisdom of Buddhist teachings, navigating from the undeniable reality of suffering to the liberating truth of its cessation. We began by recognizing the pervasive anxiety and unease that often define modern life, a relentless current that can leave us feeling lost and disconnected. This journey has illuminated how much of our distress stems from clinging to expectations, to outcomes, to a fixed sense of self, a powerful force that binds us in an invisible prison of the mind. But the path offered by Buddhist wisdom isn't one of despair, it's a beacon of hope. We've explored how mindfulness serves as our anchor, gently guiding us back to the present moment, allowing us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. From this foundation of presence, awakened awareness shines forth, unveiling the deeper truths of impermanence and non-self, revealing that our perceived problems are often rooted in a misunderstanding of reality itself. This clarity then empowers the transformative art of letting go, releasing the heavy burdens of attachment that weigh us down. We've seen how compassion, beginning with ourselves and expanding outwards, heals our wounds and connects us more deeply to all beings. Patience teaches us to embrace life's natural rhythms, understanding that true growth unfolds over time, and gratitude unlocks the key to happiness, shifting our focus from what we lack to the abundant blessings already present in our lives. The Four Noble Truths have served as our philosophical bedrock, understanding suffering, its origin in craving, its cessation, and the practical path to liberation. This path is none other than the Noble Eightfold Path, a holistic framework guiding us with right view, correct understanding, right intention, pure motivation, right speech, wholesome words, right action, ethical deeds, right livelihood, integrity in work, right effort, skillful exertion, right mindfulness, present moment, awareness, and right concentration, deep mental stability. Each element is interconnected, a vital spoke in the wheel of awakening, ensuring our journey is steady and true. The ultimate message woven through these profound teachings is clear: peace and happiness are not external destinations to be chased, but an inherent state of being to be uncovered. The external world, with all its challenges and joys, often serves as a mirror, reflecting back aspects of our own inner landscape, offering invaluable opportunities for self-discovery and growth. When we change our inner world, our perceptions, intentions, and reactions, the way we experience the outer world fundamentally transforms. The relentless current of modern life doesn't disappear, but our capacity to navigate it with grace, equanimity, and profound peace becomes boundless. This journey of self-discovery and transformation is not a sprint, it's a continuous, unfolding process. There will be moments of clarity and moments of challenge. But remember, you already possess the innate wisdom and capacity to heal, to grow, and to find liberation. Each conscious breath, each moment of mindful observation, each act of kindness or letting go is a step towards reclaiming your inherent peace. You are not a victim of circumstance, but an empowered agent of your own well-being. The wisdom of the Buddha is not a distant ideal, but a living practice, accessible to you, right here, right now. You are your greatest teacher, And every person you encounter is a valuable lesson on your path to self-awareness and boundless freedom. Begin today with a single mindful breath and watch your world begin to transform from within.